Good morning, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing okay. Yes, the Digital Archipelago has a theme song. We just haven't used it in like 80 episodes, so I hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, that was,
we had it going for like, I don't know, 20 or so episodes, because I would do all the editing and I would change it for the episode title, and then all of a sudden I just stopped doing that. But if you want a new intro music, by all means, chat. You're more than welcome to give us one in that respect. But yeah, it tells you how long I've been watching DA. Well, Seneca, don't worry. We used to do it very early on, and then we kind of just stopped. Yes, I know it's the wrong mic. That was the technical difficulties. I spent 20 fucking minutes trying to fix it. So there you go. You can tell what kind of mood I'm in. You're going to have to deal with it for today. Anyways, welcome. It's episode 82, and what spring will bring is a fucking microphone. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Hi, Gio.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm all right. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Yeah, I'm all right.
Good.
You seem kind of tense this morning, Prude.
Yeah, it's
Afternoon.
nothing like technical difficulties. Right in the beginning of a time to go live, when I set time aside to do it today, because I'm not really supposed to be on the air this week. But hey, that's life. That's life, and that's fine.
Well, we could have skipped a week. I mean, it
no, because this problem would have presented itself all but later, and that would have been worse.
True. Anyways,
how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I guess to start off the show, I would say sending power to Stone Toss, but he doesn't need it. He's going to survive. And yeah, I had a thread that kind of blew up a little bit. Not a thread, like a long post about it. Like he did exactly what I think everyone should do, which is to just like treat it like a non-event and to keep going. So, and to, even to use it for promotion. So, well, what are you going to do?
Well, he certainly did the right thing in that respect. I think to just simply open up with a sale after alleged, a dox that I don't think he gave any attention to. He just opened up and said, here's a sale, and we'll go from there, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it's and he like using it to like, buy my plushie, and it was, it was good. I think like that's the proper attitude. Of course, like I said in the thread, like I mean, if certain people have the means more than others, and obviously like him being independent and having an independent income, but even people that don't, I think like, you're going to get fired anyways. I think that's what someone said in my replies. You're going to get fired anyways, and people are going to treat you like so you might as well just bite the bullet and just either ignore it or look past it or make fun of it, and that's pretty much it. So I think like the thing is like the threat of doxing and like these Antifa groups, they like to pretend that they have more power than they actually do. I mean, there are people that get debanked, and there's people that I know like in Europe, in certain places in Europe, you could face like serious consequences. But if you stay away from like a lot of IRL activity, and if it's just like whatever, then there's many people that have survived and who have done better after doxing than not. So I think like their power is waning in a lot of respects. And like, for example, like nobody's, I don't know, like the same account, by the way, doxed all of the TRS people, and like, no, like deranged leftists has showed up at Sven or Mike Enoch's door, so.
I don't think anyone would want to either.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be the point, right? Is this to simply say that, oh, this is the way that it's going to be? We can expose you. In America, it's a little different. Like if you live in a metropolitan area, or if you are wealthy, then sure, it'll be fine and things will be great. But on the other hand, if you live in, say, Britain or Canada or anywhere else that isn't the United States, the damages that can be done to you are far worse because the laws there are way more restrictive on speech. We already basically had saw what happened with Sam Melia over in the United Kingdom. Canada's got its online harms bill, which would significantly affect people like you or any other Canadian commentator just by having someone, report you and then go for it. And then all of a sudden it's kind of over from there and you don't know what to do. And in America, there are somewhat still some kind of protection, which you don't really have in a lot of other places.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Like it's even like in like the UK, did you see that they had what was it, the annual hate report or whatever, and they put Tom Rousel on it. They put AA on it. Did you see that?
I did, and this
Yeah,
isn't the first time
Ed
I think he's
Dutton.
been on there.
Oh, it's not the first time he's been on there. Yeah, because they put like Ed Dutton on there. They put, of course, they put like Mark Collette and like other people. But yeah, they put AA on there too. I thought that was kind of funny. Um, that they put him like next to like these other, I don't know. It's really stupid. Like there's no, they like even like list like legitimate like Tory party politicians like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Like this is how like
I think
detached
they
these
even
people
put
are.
Rishi Sunak on their annual Hope Not Hate report. So
Yeah,
I
Rishi
mean,
Sunak. Yeah, the most far right, far right fan of the Austrian painter, Rishi Sunak. He's just like Sestri Devi, I guess, but that's funny. Um, yeah, they put Rishi Sunak next to like, next to like serious like BMP Wignats. It's funny. Um,
well, I
but
mean that's going
yeah,
to be that's the future of it all. And I mean, to some extent, yeah, I think that a lot of people are reduced to color commentary. You're going to be forced to deal with all sorts of insanity as time goes on what you can do or can get away with. I mean, because they've basically done what thought crime now in the United Kingdom is basically the
hmm
case when it comes to Sam. Like if you're white, good luck, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna
Like what
do?
else is there to say on that one other than thought crime is essentially legalized? It's all about intent. It's all about what is to come next and what you're going to do. And that's unfortunately the fact of the matter when it comes to this situation, and that's really unfortunate.
Well, it's part of like, yeah, it's part of the brand. Like it's an attempt to brand you a certain way, and therefore no one's really going to like quote unquote defend your rights because it's like, you know what I mean? Like they want to basically play on the optics of normies to
Yeah,
say that
absolutely.
like, you know what I mean? So they're like, oh well, we're only silencing the bad people. But then it's like, okay, but it's like, what if it isn't like, I don't know, Mark Collette? What if it is like more mainstream people, like people that go on what's that radio network, GBN, right? Like it's
Or yeah, GB News.
GB News. Sorry, yeah, GB News. Yeah. So it's like that's what happens though, is that it's like the subtle encroachment of it, because the thing is like a lot of it's so abstract that there is, I don't know if this is a black pill or not, but there is a sense that a lot of people like don't care about like legalistic or elite activity, like especially after Epstein. It's like, okay, we know the elites are like this, but who care? But it's like we meme on it, but or we like, I don't know, Elon Musk. I believe Elon Musk did mention the thing with Britain and what happened with yeah, and it's like, okay, fine, like the outrage is there, but then when it comes to like actual political power, I think what's different is that in America, you actually do have a significant pushback that can culminate into legislation, at least, or at least, the Supreme Court, or, siding of any which way. Whereas I think like in other Anglosphere countries like Canada and America and the UK and Australia, there tends to be a lot of like legalistic managerial gridlock, like especially in Canada, to where nothing really like moves forward. And so if the government decides that like these people are abandoned to the law and that they're uniquely evil, then it's incredibly difficult to actually get any sort of traction in terms of reining them in. I mean, hopefully, who knows if like Polyev like gets in next year or whenever, and he'll like strike it down. That's barring that. But like, look at what happened to all the trucker people. You know what I mean? Like, it's what are you gonna do?
Well, I think
like,
even Dave the Distributist had said at one certain point that, if he wants to send money while he's over in Canada from his American account, he still has to have his like transactions screened by the Canadian government. Just because, the whole trucker thing, send money to them. So now there's the whole financial aspect of how this can be controlled. And that's that's never going away.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I think there's a lot of things that are happening like that. It's very evident that a lot of these groups coordinate with people that work inside of governments. That much is clear. And that's their whole mission, is to basically demoralize you. And you know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes I kind of worry for myself, but then at the end of the day, it's like, well, what are you going to do? It's like, how should I put it? Like I said in that stone toss thing, it's like you should proceed with a form of dignity and never sort of give in to like what they truly want you to do, which is to apologize. Because if when you apologize, that basically admits that your worldview is wrong and that their moral framework and their worldview is correct. And that's probably the worst thing that you would ever do when these people threaten you, is to apologize or to say that you are wrong, or do the whole like song and dance of like, I am de-radicalized or whatever. Like that's never works. So
yeah. I mean, we know this time and time again, right? Anytime that there's a person that says, oh, I'm an ex-leftist or an ex-rightist or an ex-racist or whatever, all of a sudden, what's going to come out is people, they'll never believe them, right?
Right.
There are still people to this day, even though like Hunter Avalon is not anywhere what he was, right? There's still people that call him a Nazi, like it's just sort of the case. You can placate
100%,
and try and convert back to these, these sort of sounds and other nice things that you want to do, but then all of a sudden, what do you have left to show for it? You have really nothing to show for it, because what they want out of you is, again, the whole submission or destruction type deal. Yeah. And that's just sort of the way it works.
But that's what I mean. Like, it's never like really like look at already. They've already failed in trying to intimidate Stone Toss. Because so it's like, I understand like the legal consequences or the fear that people would confront you or whatever, but I don't know. I think that if you're in America, you're all right. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, who knows the future of my country, if I would be forced to move or whatever, or if it's just a nothing burger. I don't know. I think like, unlike the UK, there is sort of there's a level of elite incompetency when it comes to the Canadian government that, there's a level of elite incompetency, put it that way. And so whether the legislation would act, exactly like that, who knows, right? I mean, there has been precedent before with the Human Rights Commission. There was that pastor out in Alberta where they like forced him not to speak about gay people or whatever. Did you hear about this one? This was years ago. This was years ago.
So what 20, like, what are we talking years ago? 2010, 2017?
Oh yeah, this was 2009.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Years ago, check.
Yeah, this was before, no, I shouldn't, maybe 2000, maybe like 2010, 2011, because this came right around the same time that the Ezra Levant Human Rights Commission case was coming around. So this was around that time, 2012, 2013, then the Mark Stein case, which, I mean, I don't believe Mark Stein was even a citizen of, or I think he was a citizen of Canada, or he was like living here. That was ambiguous because he was educated in the UK, but he lived in Canada, but then I believe he lives in America now. So yeah, Arthur Pawlowski. Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly, my friend. He was a pastor. He was pretty woke on the LGBT CIA question, and they tried to like silence him and say that he couldn't communicate in his own thing his own congregation about social issues. So, you know,
I mean, that's insane.
yeah. Yeah,
Well, I
exactly.
mean, this is
Intersectional libs
also,
don't care about AFA doxes. Who gives
well,
a
I mean,
shit?
it's the same thing that also has come out of South Dakota, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the I mean, what it is not so much a restriction on speech, but also just a creation of a protected class,
Yeah.
to where now it is merely the argument that, well, this is what we're going to refer to when things are set against a certain class of people. And one of them, of course, is that was listed on there with the IHRA standards that they had, of course, was just like, well, at what point do these laws, especially if you are more of a if you are a pastor or something like that. So like when you read the passion part of the gospel, or if you read Acts chapter 4, right? Is that going to get you arrested? You know, when you
Yeah.
mention who is responsible for the crucifixion, that'd be interesting, you know? And they'll be like, oh, well, that's blood libel. And it's like, well, I see that every day. But again, the hypocrisy is already a well-known factor. Everyone knows this. This is the way that it works. And you have to play by it, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, like that, the South Dakota thing, that's like insane though. Like that's, I mean, it's different that it's probably, it's probably crafted by neocons who are working in tandem with people like the ADL or whatever. But like, you can't even say that Israel's committing war crimes in that bill. Like, you
No,
can't, yeah, like it's, I mean, that's like saying you can't express an opinion on like a legitimate fact, like whatever you agree or disagree with that framing of war crimes or the what's happening with Palestine. But yeah, like that's insanity. That's like, but in that instance, it's more of like a neocon, like virtue signaling type of thing that the Republican Party is like being duped into, sort of like the way that they're being duped into banning TikTok because they hate China. It's like,
yeah.
okay, I agree. I hate TikTok as well, right? I think TikTok is kind of like it's kind of like when they introduced crack cocaine to the black community in the 80s. That's what TikTok is like for Zoomers. I hate to say it. But that being said, like or what tweet was that? I believe it was 8 Eli that had that tweet about HRT for coders is like you know that one.
Oh yeah, like black crack in the black communities, or they realized that like transgenderism works so well with the autistic nerd sphere because it was easier to turn
Yeah.
men into women than it was DEI candidates into coders.
They said I believe the 8 Eli tweet was that like HRT was like crack cocaine for nerds. Like, but HRT did to nerds what crack did to blacks in the 80s. Oh my god. That was hilarious. But no, but like the thing about TikTok is that as much as I hate it and despise it and I think it's evil, I think really to ban it, I mean, first of all, how are you going to ban such a huge social media conglomerate? And second of all, they're going to use this to go after other groups. They're going to like target Telegram, because Telegram's foreign owned, right? So, it's like
Yeah, it's owned
that's
by a Russian.
yeah. Maybe they'll go after Twitter too because of Elon. They'll say that it's foreign owned now or whatever, or it's owned by the Russians, guys, or somehow some crazy, I mean, if Brennan could lie about Trump, then they could easily lie about Elon, that Elon's being bankrolled by the Kremlin or whatever. So, as much as I don't like TikTok, it's like, what are you gonna do? TikTok without Americans would be 20 times more right wing. Oh, maybe Penn. Maybe that's, you never know. But
Well, the
do you have
other
a
thing
hot
to
take on the
consider
TikTok
though,
thing?
oh, yeah, I do. One of the things to consider, right, would just simply be that unlike TikTok, with it being foreign owned, there's not as much control. I mean, like, yeah, there's the Chinese thing in there, and you see a lot of conservatives saying, like, well, look at what the Chinese are doing on their version of TikTok compared to like the gay race communism that is algorithmically promoted here in America. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, I agree with that. The problem is that okay, you ban it, that does give you a lot of carte blanche for the regime to do anything else, and that does give me a lot of concern. However, I don't think, even if they banned it, right, and I think that it did pass the House of Representatives the last time I checked, was simply that, oh, by the way, what we're going to have to deal with is now American social media companies, they're already, they have their hands in the pockets of, the pants of the American intelligence agencies and others in the Anglosphere. I don't see them going away anytime soon. Like, oh, this could ban Twitter. Intel agencies are not going to let Congress ban Twitter. In the same way, they're not going to want them to ban Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. They would have to be bought out by a foreign entity first, which I don't see happening anytime soon, because YouTube, Twitter, yes, it's in the hands of Elon Musk, but let's face it, it's not like Elon Musk is going to go tell the feds to go fuck themselves when it comes to the intelligence agencies. I don't think Elon is in a position to wage war with, the intelligence community. I just don't see it. Would it be good to, again, I think it's about algorithms in the same way that the things about YouTube or banning it. It feels so pointless. It's a lot easier to war hawk against China, which I feel like is going to be the big pivot for this administration, as well as if Trump gets in 2024 and into office in 25. I think you're going to see a much larger pivot to Asia again, more so than this situation in Ukraine, despite what the laws that they've passed in the book tells us. So I would suspect that if this passes, I don't know what this administration would do. Maybe they sign it. I don't know if the Senate will pass it or not, but it does illustrate. It's hard for me to take any arguments about speech or spying seriously when people still get banned left and right, and it's hard for me to care. I know that's a lot of like moral positioning and blah 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 blah, but haven't they tried to? Thomas Massey's talking about how this bill gives the president, yeah, well, there you go. All it would take, right, is some website via, any website we set up could be banned in that way. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if it'll pass the Senate. I highly doubt it.
No, I don't think it's going to pass. That you could say anything. You could say that, oh, well, did you know that there's like dangerous far right Austrian painters, or there's dangerous Al Qaeda members, there's dangerous cheese pizzas on Twitter or on Facebook, and so therefore you have to ban it. Like, it's not. It's, I don't know. It's complicated because it's, in some ways, a lot of these social media companies are like a public square, and they are kind of like a public good. And it's same thing with the legislation here in Canada about like, oh, are you doing this to protect children? Well, you already can't post any videos that are harmful towards children in any way on all social media sites, including the ones that have very few levels of moderation, like Telegram or like 4chan or whatever. So it's redundant, right? And how are you going to determine it? Like, does the video or does the image or does the text have to be up on the social website for a number of days for it to be like, for the Canadian government to sue them? How are you going to enforce that? Do you think Elon Musk is going to hand over $22 million to Justin Trudeau? He's like, no, go fuck yourself. Like, it's not going to happen, right? Like, and also, like, if there's a content moderation issue because of the TOS, they're going to get rid of it anyways. Like, I saw like these cannibal videos on Twitter, right? That one that Wyatt shared, they got rid of it. They had to put Wyatt's account under moderation. By the way,
what's worse about those videos is like I have it set up to where like if sensitive, like the sensitive display warning on Twitter, like I have that turned on. So like if something gets flagged for being nasty or ugly, I if I want to click on it, I have to like make the extra conscious decision to click on it.
Yeah.
Most of the time you don't get that anymore. Whether it's the war in Ukraine, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Haiti, you're just going to see it. Like, there's no warning whatsoever.
I've seen dead kids from the war in Gaza, Yeah. So.
Well, that's the thing. Casually browsing Twitter, and I come across cannibalism. Like, what the fuck? I don't want to see. I didn't want to see the Wyatt video. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see someone getting eaten. I didn't.
Especially down there.
Yeah, especially. And
he was half alive too, by the way.
Yeah, I did not need to see roasted Vienna sausage. Like, I didn't. Didn't. But there's no. But remember, pussy in bio. Don't forget that.
Pussy in the bio, yeah. No, I remember like replying to someone. I think I replied to Frogwave. I'm like, thanks, Wyatt. Thanks, Wyatt.
Yeah, thanks, Wyatt.
I love why he does come up with a lot of crazy content. I must say he's a master of that. But he has no filter. The one Wyatt shared. I'm
No
really glad
filter.
I didn't see that
No
one.
warning.
No.
And like I don't think of myself as like a particularly like sensitive, you know, snowflake type or whatever, but it's like I don't want to see that, you know. I've seen enough live leak and Chinese construction and cartel beheadings to be sensitized for the rest of my life.
Or that woman in a factory in Russia that got sucked up in the lathe machine.
Yeah. But like, you know, do I want to see that? No, not really. Am I going to see it on Twitter.com? It's an occupational hazard. The digital archipelago, we're on Twitter, so you don't have to be.
Oh yeah. No, but like the things with children, they get to me though.
Oh yeah, I cannot do, and I can't even do it with like movies or anything like that where the violence is implied to be towards children. I can't. My stomach isn't really there for it, and it does disgust me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Twitter, the last bastion of free speech, where you can see people eating ass or an arm. That's so true.
Oh my god,
it's so true, John Carter. It's an MMO PvP clout-based shooter.
It's funny though, like you can't post any like prawn on like Facebook, right? Like or on Instagram. I mean, Instagram, like they have things like TikTok or Twitch. They have like things where they are like trying to get away with it. Like on TikTok, I think like if you're a mother breastfeeding, and you have like these girls exploiting it as a hack, right? Like these OnlyFans girls. But on Twitter, like you could see, you know, you could use it as a prawn site. People do. And it's like perfectly acceptable. But I think like they're algorithmically so shut off that like you have to like actively go and search for it. Yeah, so it's crazy. Super chats today to buy a new mic. There you go.
Yep.
Gio should do a lemon party. Oh my god. That's ancient history right there. Lemon party. All those shock sites. Lemon party, meat spin, tub girl, BMP Pain Olympics. You know, you ever watch the Pain Olympics? That was fake Prude. Oh, is Prude still here? Oh my god. I think he froze, guys. Mac user. Yeah, Blue Waffle. Oh my god, Goatsy. Yeah, that's the classic. But I think Prude, I don't know what happened to Prude. But anyways, we were going to talk about a Mystery Grove article today, and please need those super chats in case Prude needs to buy a new mic or a new computer. So hopefully he'll be back. Don't worry about it. I remember when I was 12. Okay, might as well do an AMA, eh, guys? Might as well do an AMA. How are the Leafs doing? Oh God, we'll see. They're up against the Flyers tonight, I think. But anyways, so might as well do my shilling before Prude comes back. I did an solo episode of Content Minded you all enjoy. So go and listen to it after this stream, where I talk about Nietzsche, not Nietzsche. Well, I talk a little bit of Nietzsche. I talk about Nick Land. I read an article from Fang Numina. That's the paywalled version. But the public version, I talk about Heidegger and the event and being. It was from a Thomas 777 post. And I have this whole discussion about Heidegger. I have this whole discussion about Yimbys. And also, I read a thread by our favorite Radfem poster on Twitter. So, oh God, I hope it's not a solo episode. People have told me to watch Welcome to the NHS, Red Hind. There we go.
Jesus Christ. I love it. Thanks.
Oh my God. Things are just going wrong today.
Yep.
Gio is taking Gio's cornet pin to his.
Today is not my fucking day.
Oh my God.
My buddy who lives in Berkeley area asked me yesterday if I've ever heard of a book called Nutcranker. Listen, Dan Baltic has shooters everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere there's a Dan Baltic shooter. Don't worry.
That's crazy. I don't know if I should delete this tweet, Prude, because like I don't know if I'm worried about leftoids. Like, you know, I shouldn't care about these things because it does translate to Elon bucks, but it's like I don't know.
I wouldn't delete it. I mean, you're at a point now where you can say some of the most ridiculous things on Twitter and not worry about it. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too much. Why is my microphone oh Jesus H. Okay, my mic that I currently use not working. So dealing with the webcam. If we're gonna have this problem all fucking day, so be it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And entropy is malfunctioning. That's great too.
Well, entropy's going on the fritz too.
Today just fucking sucks. There's nothing good about today. That's fucking great.
Oh man.
I love this so much. Thank you. I'm really appreciating it. Today just all right, well, we're going to continue on, whether you like it or not. Crunchy mic and everything. So, fuck it. We're going to do it live and just deal with the problem. And that's okay. And my co-host is browsing his phone. That's fine.
No, sorry. No, I don't know. I get annoyed whenever I have a tweet that like goes off. But anyways.
I have a USB mic, Captain K. That's exactly what I've been using for like the last 3 years, and it doesn't want to cooperate.
Yeah, I use USB. I have the Shure USB mic, so
that's fine. It's fine. Okay, entropy should be working now. It should be, and if not, so be it.
Anyways, yeah, something crazy. Yeah, things just happening all at once.
Well, this will be a fun one to play on the replay, although I doubt this will get any views because the mic is scuffed to all hell, but so be it.
No, your mic sounds all right. I mean, it's not the greatest, but yeah.
Alrighty, well, we'll just carry on as
there was a take about like how people were going crazy though. I guess does the Mystery Grove article talk about it or?
Yeah, actually. I mean, it's a great article, and I kind of want us to talk about it today because it's a free article. It's a little lengthy, but I think it's quite good. Because all of a sudden, you know, he has a very good point in this respect, and I think we can talk about it, and we're going to carry on. So one of the things that wanted me to talk about this article is that you and I are in quite a few chats, and one of the things that you had said is over the last 10 years, really, just people have been filtered incredibly quickly by every form of the news. And one of those, you know, whether it be the coup, whether it be Gamergate, whether it be Gaza, whether it be Ukraine or whatever, or I mean, even the elections, right? Everyone has either been filtered or has been forced to just deal with like a very strange schizophrenic selection pressure. And I thought that this article was very good for that because you had basically said that every person, like everyone knows that, you know, there was a bigger community and then something happens and then like that filters them on a certain take and that filters them on a certain take. And now it just gets smaller and smaller on people that you can rely on, trust, or talk to. And I thought that was a very good observation just because people have gone insane on one particular pet issue and then nothing else matters. I mean, you see the same thing on the left, right? There are still all those like zero COVID people.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, God, they're funny to interact with.
Oh, they're my favorite. I love them. Yeah. I mean, they're fantastic.
By love, I mean I despise and hate them.
Oh, but, of course. But
yeah,
I mean,
being Canadian and especially, but no, but I know what you mean though. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I was by all means continue.
No, like I think my point was that. Well, I think it was originally Martin that was talking about like the schizo posting, like who is like these bigger accounts that like post Cole, like the Candace Owens thing about like how Macron's wife is trans or whatever. Like it's Transformer. And it's like just okay. The Michelle Obama thing was funny, Michael Obama, but it's like I don't know. It's like there tends to be like a filter where is it partially a grift? Is it partially schizo posting? Does the schizo posting become a grift? Because it used to be that schizo posting conspiracy theories, they were like they had a verve to it. They had a sort of poetics to it, the way that you would read a Francis E. Deck monologue, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, but nowadays, because it becomes part and parcel of this bigger like grift, like I am a social media personality, I have a hot take. And then like there was something that Martin said that I was responding to that he said, like, it seems every big account is like melting down all at once. And it's like, they have to like go crazy with either one pet issue over the other, or one group is responsible for the other. And a good example would be the whole thing where Barbecue is wearing the Masonic symbol. He's like wearing
Yeah.
like a clownishly large
It,
Masonic
I,
G.
everything. I mean, this is the thing about that sort of stuff, though. Like, you have your pet issue, right? Like, everything is about X, everything's about Y. You got to name this particular group, and then does everyone just forget? For instance, with Haiti, it's a really good example that this place has been a shithole since the revolution.
Yeah,
Like, does
like
everyone
literally
just
for 200 years since the revolution?
what, 1804, right? So over
Yeah.
200 years, 220 years, this place has been an absolute shithole. And I mean, some fellows over from a certain organization were giving a talk on Haiti earlier. I was listening to it on Twitter, and they were just like, "Hey, you know, the American occupation, I think it was like in the 1980s in Haiti when they went down there.
Yeah, my
They
my
armed
family friend went
soldiers,
there.
yeah, armed soldiers had to get back to watch them go through the trash and deal with, and they just let them have it. I mean, the whole place has been deforested. There's
Yep.
numerous articles about how this place has been, so many generals and so many places and so many privates and so many others, and it's just like, yeah, I think you're missing the forest for the trees here, buddy. Like, sure, he can wear whatever symbol he wants, but this place has been a shithole for 220 years. And
The only time it wasn't a shithole was either when it was occupied, was run by the French, or when it was run by like literal dictators like Papa Doc, right? And
yeah,
of course his heroin addicted son ruined that. So it's a family friend of mine actually did go to Haiti. She was part of the Peace Corps. She was my mother's one of my mother's best friends. Still is. She's retired now because, of course, she said it was the worst experience of her life. Now, keep in mind when she went to Bosnia in the Canadian Peace Corps and she saw mass graves, RP camps, and she stepped on a landmine once, and she, thank God, she got like a bomb diffuser to like, yeah. So, but she said Haiti was the worst experience of her life. It was absolutely Armageddon. Like it was like unimaginable levels of poverty and squalor, and and so and she went to Bosnia at the height of the war in the 1990s, right? And I think she went a little bit to Afghanistan, but then she retired. But the point about the Masonic G, Pope had actually had a great thread, and he said that he had because he's from Italy, and he was on a hiking trip once with a gentleman from West Africa, and he's like, you got to realize like a lot of like Haitians and Africans, like they tend to be like some of the most like high conspiracy people. And there's been a lot of history in Haiti in particular of warlords taking on like voodoo affectations or other power symbols. Like there's a Masonic lodge in Port-au-Prince. And so I think General Barbecue, he just like saw it as a symbol of power to like take over. And it's like a very weird, like talismanic, sympathetic magic, as James Frazier would call it. But then these people were saying like these crazy schizo takes, like that Haiti and the Clinton Foundation, and the World Economic Forum and the globalists and the Masons, they're all controlling Haiti, and they made like 67 IQ people like redact and eat each other. It's like, what do you like? Okay, it's true. The Clinton Foundation, there was a lot of meddling in Haiti. There was a overturning of elected officials. For example, Clinton's candidate was put in power more or less through election fortifying, right? But that being said, like Haiti, a lot of the people on the political left, they have a very slippery notion when it comes to colonialism, that they're like, well, the American empire controls everything. And the American empire does interfere in elections. The American empire does put out propaganda, but a lot of this
we're going to do it in Israel too, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh, I mean, we've done that, but I mean, Chuck Schumer earlier today had said something along the lines of like, let's have elections, let's have a ceasefire, Netanyahu has to go.
Oh, isn't that on the tail of Joe Biden having the hot mic moment where he's like, Netanyahu was going to come to Jesus moment?
Yeah, But I mean, this also happened during the Obama administration, and I think people really do forget that Obama and Netanyahu. I mean, Obama was definitely not the world's most pro-Israel president, but I mean, in terms of policy, this is arguably the most damaging administration with respect to that country in the Middle East, and whether it's the port or the humanitarian aid. And I mean, there are some guys that are more pro-Israel that have made this point that I think is very true, that anytime that you're in a siege, which this is a siege, this is a war, all food, aid, supplies, etc., will always go to the garrison. The garrison always gets fed first. They're the ones that get the medical aid. They're the ones that get treatment. It's the meme, my tax dollars versus my tax dollars, and that's what's happening.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, the thing about Israel is that it's truly optically disaster. Like it's been optically a disaster for the Biden administration, because you have how shall I put it? You have a lot of people, like, basically the radicals of the Democrat Party. They are pushing them in a certain direction, but the approach that the Obama, I call it the greater Obama administration, because let's face it, who do you think's actually?
Yeah, I mean, this really is Obama's third term.
Yeah, they were always like, I know, like the David Garrow's article we covered, he tried to like portray it as like, Obama has like, he's anti-Semitic from the left or whatever. That's not true, clearly. But I think that they're less sympathetic to the big Z word than, like, essentially what I think is going to happen is they want the liberals to win in Israel. They want Zionism with a human face. They realize that this war is a total optics disaster, and they have to subtly not piss off the hardliners in Israel while also placating the liberals in Israel. So they're in a tough position, because then, like, for example, that video where AOC was getting mogged in the street, like, that says it all, right? Yeah. Like, even AOC is cucking to this. Where she's like, it's fucked up, man. You remember, like, she and her boyfriend's not, of course, not doing anything, right? He's just standing by. He's monitoring the situation.
Standing back and standing by AOC's fiance or husband, because they're engaged, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
She wears the pants in that relationship.
Well, obviously, right? Like, she found herself a nice, like,
dorky, liberal,
redheaded guy that's just gonna be like, like, he's like goofy at that point.
He's taller than her.
I mean, like, she got herself a side piece. She got someone to just go home with and not be alone, and hope that she doesn't choke on whatever meal she cooks over Instagram Live. That way,
the Instagram Live. That's like. Oh, those videos.
But I think the important thing to also consider, at least from the USG's position, is that you have two weird factions of sort of this administration fighting with one another. Because, I mean, on one hand, this is the most progressive and one of the most ethnically Jewish administrations in terms of who's actually staffed in the administration in the history of modern America, right? Yeah. Like, that's an objective.
Well, you have like an old senile man talking about trans children.
Sure. But I mean, that's besides the point. You have this very progressive form of secular Judaism versus like old guard military industrial complex kind of pro-Zionism. And I think that what we're witnessing politically, at least domestically here at home, is, how do I placate a rising ethnic majority or minority majority type deal where a lot of people view Israel as white, settler colonial, patriarchal, fascist, and at the same time trying to adhere to a group of people that has been, consequentially one of the biggest factors of the post-war liberal order when it comes to the situation in Israel since 1948. And how do you maintain support for that while also placating a democratic base at home, while also at the same time you have internally people who are both very progressive, not so Zionist Jews that work in the State Department, alongside old guard and, of course, the Republican Party.
And those people will never be pushed to the right, by the way.
Of course not. Well, I mean, even if they did, what are you going to get? You're going to get neoconservatism 2.0. Actually, you're not even going to get 2.0. You're just going to get the same thing over and over again.
All those neocons are neoliberals now. Like Jennifer Rubin, she posts like a lib. Same with Bill Kristol.
Yeah.
Same with David Fromm. They're libs.
They're all libs. But I mean, it's because they were all the OG neoconservatives were all Trotskyists.
Yeah.
Like when Francis Fukuyama is saying this back in the 90s, like, I'm sorry, like if both like, chief on the judgment seat of liberalism, Francis Fukuyama, and like some sketchy, like a non-right wingers are like saying the same thing, odds are there's probably some weird truth to that.
Yeah.
But on one hand, it's important to consider, like, you're seeing this internal divide between sort of, as my friend said, you're just seeing a fight between military industrial complex versus gay race communists.
Yeah.
And like that's the fight here. And
Exactly.
Unfortunately, we're watching the schizophrenic shit show play out in real time with billions of my tax dollars as an American being spent on things that do not benefit me. And if they do build that port, I presume more Goth's law will be in effect. Millions of Palestinians will be ushered into Europe and into America. And we're already seeing that, and the same thing's happening in Haiti too, right? Like they want to bring people there. Although Ron DeSantis has said no, fuck that, and has decided to put up the guard, which I think is a good thing.
Notice how he becomes based as soon as he leaves national electoral politics.
As soon as he dropped out, like 2 days later, he was like doing a hot mic phone like video screen thing where he was like, well, this is why it's against the Constitution. This is why it legally has no standing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he's a former JAG officer, if I remember correctly.
And he was a former JAG officer, yeah.
Okay, so like he's a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about. And it's just like, where was this Ron DeSantis? Instead, your consultants like gave you a shot of autism, like you just proved RFK's point. They gave you something, and now all of a sudden you're this autistic spur who didn't know how to smile or talk to people. And so it's very good that Ron DeSantis is not in the race anymore. He can try to make Florida a better place. But I mean,
let me look at this. Florida to Haiti. Is it? Well, isn't Haiti close to Haiti is Haiti's next to Cuba. That's a stone's throw away from Florida. So it's like when Florida had to take in the Miami migrants from when Castro expelled them in the 80s. That's how you got Scarface, remember? Like that's Scarface is not real, but that was a very real thing, like the Cuban migrants, right? That's why Cubans vote Republican.
I mean, like the first 30 minutes of that movie is
him in a refugee camp.
Him in a refugee camp trying to kill a communist.
Yeah. I mean, that's not true anymore because apparently the children of the Florida Cuban boomers are all libtards now, of course.
Well, I mean, that's the case. That's the case with almost all of it, right?
White Hispanics,
Any generation of people that come from like a conservative area, usually their kids don't do it. I mean, like they lack. It's like the Columbian Exchange, where like the Europeans came here, they all got like wiped out by smallpox or something.
Yeah.
Like disease killed more of them than our guns or anything like that ever did. And it was just like, okay, well, clearly when you come here, it's like the Columbian Exchange all over again. You have no immune system to gay race communism. So sorry, your kids are going to get trans now. And
you left actual communism for
you left actual communism for gay race communism. And I hate to break it to you, this one is far more virulent because now all of a sudden your kid wants to go by they them pronouns and talk about HRT behind your back. Like it's an insane thing to consider. Now I get it that there's a wealth gap in that to consider because the wealthy people come to America, the poorer ones will stay in Europe or in other developed nations. So I mean, this is why, though, in the United States, according to the Pew Research Center back in 2017, so this is like 7 years old, but I'm sure it's been, if you updated it, it would probably be very similar. They were like, hey, a lot of American Muslims are actually more pro-gay than white American evangelical Christians.
Wow.
And it's like, that's the power of gay race communism.
That's hijabis. That's like the university-educated Muslim women.
Yeah.
That that's like the Mia Khalifa demographic of Muslims, the hijabis. Yeah.
Well, she's Lebanese, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I believe certain parts of the Muslim world actually put a fatwa out on her because she had prawn videos where she was wearing the hijab. Yes. Yeah. That's kind of that says nothing about sexlectics, by the way.
She has a degree in history, by the way.
Getting railed by white men while you're wearing the hijab. I mean, can Basil ever miss? Can Stone Toss ever miss? Can Basil ever miss? But anyways.
Well, when he's not talking about Marxism, I suppose. When it's only about sex and other libertine issues, he'll do fine. But, he's an anti-left Marxist. So, I mean, there's only so much room that you can work with there.
Well, yeah. But the Mia Khalifa thing is like, it's just...
it's peak Basil's tweet about most
Yeah.
political points are about race play and fetishes.
Well, same with AOC. Like, can you imagine what she does with her boyfriend? My God.
I don't want to think about it,
Don't wanna
Gio.
think about that one.
I don't want to think about it at all.
Because she probably sees all the memes about her too. Like when she was describing like Alex Steen, remember? She's like juicy booty. Like she actually said that word juicy, but she had like the hand. She's like juicy booty. Like that was funny. But I don't know. I don't agree with harassing people in public though. I think that was kind of like, I don't know. It's like, who cares? Here's the thing.
Well, I mean,
I
the
would
person who
rather
started this
see
was Alex
AOC.
Stein.
Yeah. What would you say? Would you say?
Oh, I mean, that's the thing, is the person who started this was Alex Stein, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
and this is the same guy that has done other weird sexual creepy shit on other like platforms and conservative shows. It's like, why are you platforming this guy, you know?
Yeah. He was fun in Fish Tank though. That was kind of funny, but like that was if like listen, if it means that, could I trade trolling out AOC in public for her not being in political power? That's a very easy choice to make. You know what I mean? Like but yeah, so the Haiti situation, it will lead to like I could easily, you know, there will be mass immigration to both Florida. There'll be to Quebec. A lot of Haitians go to Quebec because of the French. It's terrible all around. But I don't know what, like, and the thing is, like, I don't know what you could do about it apart from the, you know, Eric Prince plan of just sending 80,000 mercenaries and like getting the job done. Yeah, but like I mean I don't know. It's but about the Israeli thing, yes, essentially the Democrat Party would like to have a more liberal administration to placate both sides in Israel, because in this situation they really are the true centrists, as opposed to the Republicans who are very pro Likud, very pro, you know. So like in some of the deranged stuff that people like Ben Shapiro say about the Palestinians is like, well, you know, but so it's a tenuous position geopolitically. I would think, and also the fact that the Ukrainian situation is also not resolved, because there are still some hardliners such as Biden himself. But the fact that Victoria Nuland did step down, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I know the War Report, their latest episode, I believe it was called Angry Joe. They were talking about this, how the only time that Joe Biden is really coherent is when he's angry. Like when he's hating on Republicans and Trump voters, he's coherent. When he's getting angry about something, they tend to, I don't know, they inject him with better drugs that morning. I don't know. It's but it is true, when he's angry, he makes less mistakes. But then of course you have that hot mic moment saying that, like, me, I actually personally talked to Netanyahu and he's gonna have a come to Jesus moment. But then you see the security guard trying to drag him away, saying, hey, we have to go. And he's like, and he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He continued, you know. And I'm sure Anthony Blinken was like going nuts. Like, do you remember that one part of Anthony Blinken where he was like,
yeah, I know, where he's behind in Air Force One and he's just like, don't say anything.
Yeah, that was funny. So the Democrats, they have a huge problem this year. Do you even, Prude, does it even feel like an election?
I was just talking about that the other day with some friends. Like, none of this feels like an election year.
Yeah.
And I think we said this last week too. I think the reason why everyone feels like it's not an election year is because everyone kind of knows what the play is going to be.
Yeah.
It's Biden versus Trump again. The only people who seem remotely interested in doing it, I mean, the Trump camp has been making some moves that are interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ronna McDaniel has stepped down. You got the Republican Party chairman of, I think, North Carolina to step in. I think his name is like Mike Wheatley or Watley or something like that. And they basically like just took over the RNC.
Based Mark Robinson.
They stopped doing their minority outreach programs. They cut dozens of jobs that were basically like because like Trump's not in charge. Everyone needs to know this. Trump's not in charge. Like, he is the face, but behind him is a lot of other dudes in the background telling him how to do things. which is why this whole PayPal Mafia stuff that Matt from King Pill has been talking about, which I
I
find
saw
really
that with
interesting.
Oren. Yeah.
And he and Cooper were on with my show. He's been making the rounds. I mean, because it's important
funny because people accuse Oren of being part of the PayPal Mafia, but that's not
a
true.
former school teacher from Florida is part of the PayPal Mafia. Yes, and I get teal dollars. Yeah, no, if I did, I think I'd have a much better setup. But
I hope Pudler gives me some rubles. That's I might not be able to say that soon.
Yeah, you might get in trouble.
By the way, Pudler does not give me rubles whatsoever. I wish.
Well, I mean, that goes also back to like Morgoth's essay a while back saying like the real dilemma for like sort of dissidents type spheres is that, you can, there's a certain line you have to walk before you get labeled a traitor or a national security threat or anything like that. And that puts you in a wide degree of danger, especially because, like, listen, I don't like my government at all, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be cheering on like people that also don't like me either,
Yeah. Well, it's the same with the TikTok thing, right? Like, if they can come after TikTok, they can go after anything. TikTok's like one of the, if not the biggest social media site. So,
And I mean, the other thing to also consider too, right, is that, and someone was asking earlier in chat, like with Newland stepping down. I mean, we're literally trying to come up with ways to give Ukraine money, and like nothing particularly great with that respect. And then at the same time, like this whole TikTok thing to me is a major shift towards China. I mean, Newland has always been focused on East Europe and Russia in particularly. Gee, I wonder why. And at the same time, like she's been responsible for a lot of the stuff that has been going on in Ukraine for years now. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. And so for her to step down, to me, is a huge indication that American foreign policy is about to radically shift in two other directions, away from Russia, at least in a lesser capacity, but also then to going towards probably the Middle East and also China. Those are going to be the biggest two. And Introspection says, Frody Midyor talked about this recently, said he made a good point. The worst mistake for the right to make is to become the mouthpiece of a hostile foreign government.
Oh, kind of like Ukraine?
Yeah. Well, or Russia, or Israel, or China.
I know he meant Russia. Obviously, Frody meant Russia. But no, but I think that in some ways, I mean, listen, as much as I want to see the Ukrainian war end, that's even more dangerous to pivot to China. I mean, I'm no fan of the Chinese government. I have way more sympathy for the Russians than I do China. That is pretty clear. But in terms of the world economy and in terms of geopolitics, I mean, this is a bear trap that the Americans can't win. I hate to like nobody is going to win if anything happens. I don't think anything's going to happen substantially in terms of a war, but even an economic war can severely punish the average American. If you think your Big Mac is fucking $7, $8, imagine your Big Mac is $20. Imagine the Costco hot dog is $15.
I'm pretty sure in some places a Big Mac meal is $20.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was a whole popular video that went back the other day. I think it was in like New York, where it's like a McDonald's meal is like $18.76.
Oh yeah, here in Canada it's $18. Yeah, no, but I mean like a Big Mac just on its own, not like.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should say junior chicken. Junior chicken is being. Imagine a junior chicken $15, right? But like people make fun of it, but you can actually generally gauge. Some economists did this. You can gauge the general economy by the price fluctuations of fast food. People have done this. Like serious economists. Yeah, the Costco hot dog is amazing.
Everyone likes the story where like the CEO is like, I'll just kill you,
yeah. The hot dogs must keep flowing. The pizza must keep flowing from Costco. The $5 chickens. It's actually $7 here in Canada, the chickens.
I don't eat out really. I mean, I'll make an exception every now and then, depending on where I go. Like I think Brahms is the one of the few places where I'll still go out because it's not ridiculously expensive. But I mean, I don't buy fast food or anything. I try my best to cook. And
I try not to. Yeah.
And I have a lot of cookbooks and things like that. And I cook all the time on Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays when I'm at church, just because one, it's my way of showing affection to people that I care for them. But secondly, it's just like I like doing it. I like cooking. I like making desserts. I like doing that. So anytime that I need to make spare change to tithe or donate to break a $20 bill, I'll go out and I'll go buy recipes and stuff. Like honestly, the most expensive thing that I still buy nowadays is meat. and it's still, that's still somewhat pricey, but the prices have gone down. But I mean, cooking your own food is still remarkably cheap. It's still good for you. Plus, I garden and all this other stuff. I think it's important to consider these
until they
things.
make it illegal, like in the UK.
Well, until they make it illegal, but even then they can go fuck themselves.
You're not going to tell Texaners not to garden. I mean, that's not
well, you can't tell anyone who lives in a rural area not to garden and try and take care of themselves. I mean, like last year we saved quite a bit on our grocery bills from what we had harvested, my family and I, and so it's like it's pretty great, and that's the thing to do. I mean, I make so much soup and I make so much stews and other stuff, and it's great. Honestly, like you can't.
Well,
it's great.
Yeah. Well, the
always
Costco
be
ready-made
cooking.
chicken.
So true.
The Costco ready-made chicken is good because you can make like if you don't have time, like you can make other things with it, like wraps, quesadillas, stews, with the bones. But no, but like yeah, I mean, I have a garden and everything too. But my point being is that another thing that's often overlooked is that if there was a huge trade war with China, I don't think. Now I want to like preface this with saying that maybe if Trump was in office, the problem is the American industrial workforce, I don't think can retool in time to stave off any economic pain that average Americans.
Oh, I think that's inevitable. I mean, I think everyone and their mother knows that that's part of the deal. And I mean, even with the USA CHIPS Act, a lot of consultants are like, we can't hire people due to DEI. Well, we can't, so like America's great efforts at reindustrializing for the sake of the CHIPS Act, bringing industry back home, we're literally killing ourselves over the fact that we can't hire the people to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the really depressing part, right? Is that all of a sudden the American national security complex cannot function due to its own rules that we set up. And this is also a big part of the wartime stuff, or not the wartime stuff, but the stuff that we also have here with either education or the airlines, et cetera. Like, we want to do X, but also we have to prioritize things that are antithetical to actual functional operations. Like on a national security level, diversity is a national security threat. And unfortunately, that's the case. And I mean, these Zoomers are too lazy to go back to work on the Detroit assembly lines. Well, those are gone to the degree that they once were. A lot of things are automated. I mean, this was a point that, consider 1962. The height of Detroit power prior to all the riots and everything that turned that city to hell. 90,000 plus people worked in Ford, right? Like, we're talking an entire major metropolitan area's population worked in one factory, worked in one company. That is unfathomable to think about for most people, because there used to be factory towns, mining towns. I mean, there still are mining towns.
They had steel.
Yeah, and so I mean, all that's gone, right? A lot of that's either automated or there are very few workers. It's not to the degree there. And something that Thomas 777 had pointed out was, like, if you were to take someone like Robert McNamara, right, famous industrialist, worked, doing all of the bean counters, you were to transport him into 2024, he would have thought the world of labor as we know it had ended, because tens of thousands of people don't work in factories anymore.
Yeah. But the thing is, too, and that creates another big problem if they were to go to economic war with China with severe tariffs, would be that America has a huge infrastructure. I mean, not just America, North America in general has a huge infrastructure problem and has a huge cheap materials problem in terms of the reliance on cheap materials coming from China. Now, say you had, for example, a landlord or a public works thing where you're relying on Chinese-made parts to replace existing infrastructure. A lot of those things will simply just go unattended to, or people would make do, or people would not care. And so you would have like a massive crisis in America in a relatively short amount of time of aging materials and infrastructure just not getting replaced. And as much as I don't like the Chinese, and much as I think that the Chinese government runs a very brutal society, and it was a mistake for America to deindustrialize, and it was a mistake for North America and Europe to be plundered by corporations and offshored. Those decisions that were made 30 years ago, they're affecting people today. And so you're going to have a massive contraction that will not affect elite people, but will affect normies. And I don't know. I think the pivot to China is even more dangerous, because the reality is, apart from schizo conspiracy theories that libtards come up with, Russia has relatively little power to influence the domestic situation of people in North America or even in parts of Western Europe, apart from like, I don't know, lobbing bomb in some apocalyptic war, they could like lob bombs at Britain or Scandinavia or wherever. They have relatively small, by comparison, China than anything else. So, you know what I mean? Like if you, I don't know, there's even like right wingers that believe that, like, I don't know, Russia's funding the woke or whatever. That's kind of stupid. But like the Chinese definitely do fund some wokeism, you know. But I think like a lot of these, I know in Canada, for instance, they fund a lot of like, did you see that? Remember they had those posters in universities with the natives during the mass grave hoax, right? Like,
Yeah.
but the reality is that like the Chinese don't need to fund quote unquote fund wokeness in North America because the American government funds wokeness in North America. You know, the Canadian government funds wokeness. The British government funds wokeness. You know what I mean? So they don't need to do it. Like they don't. So I think that, yeah, if they really wanted to pivot to China, it's terrible. But I wanted to go back. We were going to talk about people going crazy on the TL, and things just, I don't know, don't seem conducive to meaningful discourse. I had this observation with me and Matthew. We're editing my book, and we were talking a little bit about that. What's her name? That OnlyFans girl that goes on the whatever podcast, but she's smarter than the average OnlyFans girl. The one that Destiny streams with. Something. She's like this, I don't know, Middle Eastern girl or whatever she is. Come on, help me out, chat. Samara something.
Oh, Samara Khan.
Samara Khan. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember like I saw these two viral tweets that went up. And one of them was with Andrew Wilson, and one of them was with someone else from the whatever podcast. Either the main host or Sovereign Bra. I forget who it was.
Yeah.
But what I saw, I know, okay, listen, I know it's Gio talking about Negro, okay. But hear me out.
Is this where we're going to talk about like the Black Rifle Coffee Company chick?
We'll get to that. It leads into that. Okay. So what happens is, and I said this last week, BAP correctly pointed this out, that they're going like her, like them, or like these trad grifters, or like that milkers woman, the Vlada Brook, whatever her name is from the farmer protest. They're creating the conditions for a leftist pushback. Now, here's the thing. If you examine that dialogue between her and Andrew Wilson, where Andrew Wilson's talking about like, oh, I'm Farrakhan. Yeah, Farrakhan. Where he's like, I'm gonna get my wife a paternity test when we have kids, because that's like you can't trust any woman nowadays, right? So and she was pushing back with like, well, what about trusting relationship? And notice how she has the Destiny motor mouth. You know when Destiny does the debate bro tactics in the motor mouth, right? What that's creating for people that have been around the block, like you and me, Prude, we know that debate's bullshit. We know that people have been debating this since like 2014, 2008. Like this is old school manosphere stuff, and it's like low IQ. It's like a normie filter, right? You know about the OnlyFans girl? No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't. No, but bear with me. It's a meaningful point I'm getting to. This Farrakhan woman learned debate bro tactics from Destiny. And what she says is stupid. But what Andrew Wilson is also saying is objectively like grug brain misogyny type of stuff, right? And so it's very easy to push back. And of course, what does he hit him with? He says, well, your wife, Rachel, has like 3 different kids from different baby moms, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like an easy victory. And so these people that run like Fresh and Fit or like whatever podcast, they may not realize this, but they're creating a dialectic in which a smarter than your average OnlyFans girl can come up and own them. And there was this other clip by, I think it wasn't her, it was some other OnlyFans girl that Brittany Venti had in this video, where it's a clip from this podcast where they're saying that, well, all these like, you know, incel red pill misogynists, they subscribe to my OnlyFans because they want to like hate watch me, right? Because it's like I'm owning them, or they think that they're owning me. And so we know it's
I don't think these people are hate watching.
Well, you know what I mean. Like
I don't think they're hate watching.
They're not hate watching. It's like some kind of like repressed, like sexlectics type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Right?
some repressed latent sexual desire to screw what you hate. Which I mean,
Exactly.
sure, yeah. Okay.
No, but the point being is that if you're setting up
that
the
feels more like
rhetoric,
projection.
well, yeah, it's projection. Yeah. No, but I'm saying like if you're setting up the rhetoric, you're setting up the conditions for a leftist pushback in terms of these like shithead debate bro podcasts and like we're going to bring on the OnlyFans girls to scold them, but they're promoting themselves on the podcast. But then also, okay, that's one example. That's the manosphere thing. And then you see like Rollo Tomasi taking all of these L's left and right. But then you have other like mainstream people like Steven Crowder or what's her name? I can't believe I forgot her name because I'm getting confused right now. The black woman, Candace Owens.
Okay,
like you have, yeah.
No, Gio going through his mental Rolodex of all the women on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Candace Owens. But the point being is that like the age of the massive conservative grifter, I think, is coming to an end. In the sense that you can't keep pumping out these like cool takes and like obsessing about the World Economic Forum or like moral F slurring over like some supposed trad values without there being a substantial revival of the initial leftist pushback that happened in the 2010s. It's going to make the 2010s look like a fucking tea party. Because if you think BreadTube was bad then, BreadTube is come and gone. These new people that are coming in, they come from Twitch, they come from TikTok, these other leftist influencers, they're going to body all of these like red pill manosphere and conservative grifter type of personalities because these people like Andrew Tate don't have the IQ points to really substantially critique them from a far right position, right? So I think like it's kind of over. Like that Richard Spencer clip, it's kind of over. Like he looks so camp in that. I love that clip, by the way. As much as I hate Richard Spencer, that clip was primo though. I think it's kind of over. Like it's
Oh, Jasmine Jafar.
Is it her? Is it Jasmine Jafar? Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just checking.
I don't care. I don't like, but these clips that I watched, there are two clips where she's debating Andrew Wilson, another one where she's debating, I think, the host of whatever, where he's talking about like.
Wait. Who's Andrew Wilson?
Okay, he's like he's like another streamer. He's like a conservative Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Okay. Doesn't matter. The point being is that like all these OnlyFans girls that go on Fresh and Fit and whatever podcast, then you have this other layer of like Candace Owens like saying that Macron's wife is trans and all that crap. Like it's creating conditions that are not favorable to any sort of like actual right-wing movement forward. That's my whole point. Is that like they're not like, and the thing is there's precedent because the first iteration of anti-SJWs that came after Gamergate, they largely failed as well, except for Sargon, because Sargon. No, I shouldn't say that. Sargon was failing at one point.
Gio, not to interrupt, but you need to go back further. I mean, where does a lot of leftist pushback? It's older. It's older than Gamergate. It's older than Occupy Wall Street. A lot of this goes back to George W. Bush era leftism.
Yes.
This is when a lot of people first start organizing in person. They start doing it, a lot of it online. And this is where a lot of the whole Democracy Now, Sam Cedar, all that stuff transmogrifies from
David Graeber,
all of it transmogrifies from the radio or the television stuff or whatever you saw on HBO to the online, because then all of a sudden you have the explosion of being able to be a citizen journalist, the independent stuff, the disintermediation, where I'm no longer just relying on one left-winger, one Sam Cedar guy to tell me what it is. I don't need to watch Democracy Now! When I can beat Democracy Now!
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, you've got it there against the Iraq War. You already see this in a more diversified, hyper-progressive position when it comes to things like the thing that's going on in Israel and Gaza.
What's her name? The one girl, the thread we read for Emma Johnson, something Johnson.
You mean Caitlin Johnstone?
Caitlin Johnson,
an anti-war socialist.
Yeah,
like left libertarian type. Yeah, absolutely. She's one of those.
Yeah.
And you're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. Because again, we're now going to see we may get back the new kind of right. What they're going to treat him like Bush again. It'll be worse because the stakes are that much higher. And America's way worse than it was 20 years ago.
Way worse.
Way
Demographically,
worse.
socially,
Way worse demographically,
politically.
Socially, politically, economic, all of it.
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that you're going to get him way back. I mean, I think you're right. You are going to see a return, a return to that. I think. And I think that that's an important thing to consider with that respect. I mean, I also think in the same way that like how much talk has there been about sort of the masses to be like that language is going to come back, unfortunately, which I don't think is necessarily the case. I think that you're going to see a pretty firm re-entrenchment to where already established battle lines are at. And I think a lot of people's timeline, I mean, I think it's because we're younger, right? We're only 3 years apart in age. You and I remember a lot of the same things. And so all of a sudden now, when we consider our timeline, we do sort of consider it the Gamergate stuff because of our mind, our own sort of red pilling stuff.
That's what we came up.
That's what we came up with. I was, 2014 was 10 years ago. I was just starting college 10 years ago. And I remember clear as day going on YouTube and checking out on social media, hey, what the hell is all this shit, And now 10 years later, you realize actually it's way older than that. And it's important to consider that historiography because, we have such a limited digital memory for this. I think that's what allows us to be filtered so easily is that we don't consider the long history or the causal, the mechanical causality of these certain things. So I mean, like whether it be Bush, whether it be Iraq, whether it be Obama, I mean, we need to go back even further than that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And it just illustrates that all of this happens now on the timeline 24/7 right in our faces. And I think that makes it very easy for people to be filter on things. Like, I mean, like, sure, everyone's got it. Like, people have a grift or a gimmick or whatever. And I don't like using the word grift, but I mean, it does illustrate, I think, a big change in our mentality towards these things because we're not designed on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever to ever think, that far back longitudinally speaking. And I think that's a big problem about how it's been. And so what happens now is that the rise has been to, maybe this will allow us to transition into the Mystery Grove article, is that what has allowed us in the last 10 years to like forget all that? Well, I hate to be that guy, but like where do we occupy? What space are we primarily in above all things? We stopped really being physical and in person. I mean, like the leftists still are because they always had control of these institutions. But I mean, we retreated back to safer places that were decentralized, harder to hit, and things like that. So we went digital, whereas the left still stays very much in person. And we've gotten very, I don't want to say coddled, but to some extent, maybe. We've become very legally as well. We've been forced into these digital bubbles, and we haven't necessarily been allowed to push back very well. I mean, even now, right after Charlottesville, what has everyone looked at any person protesting? The first accusation's Fed.
Yeah.
And I mean, to some extent, with fair reasons.
Some of them kind of look like
some of them kind of do. But on the other hand, even if you wanted to protest or be an activist, like all of a sudden, like people who have been, inculcated and enculturated in that way, that might be just the way to look at it. And I think that's sort of important to consider.
Well, like people keep asking about, like, for example, PF, right? Like, I don't like the fact that the government's going after their head guy. Like, I don't think they're, I mean, maybe optically it's not the greatest, obviously, but like it's, put it this way, there's other feds, there's other organizations that, what I mean?
Cloistered's a good word. Alone in the woods. I do like that. Cloistered. That's a better word to use than coddled.
Well, like there's a good example, like, of it going way back farther. I mean, a lot of those like anti-war, like socialists, like Caitlin Johnson, or maybe not Sam Sear because he had to move with the times, but certainly like even David Graeber before he died, or Mark Fisher. Hello. Like, these people were denounced by the newer generation of leftists that came after them that they were inspired by, right? Like, let's face it, Mark Fisher, I said this before publicly, I think that was a redacting by proxy. You know what I mean? That was a sunset. That wasn't a sunset. That was a redacting by proxy by all of the people that he worked with stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
Right? The students that he taught stabbed him in the back.
This is a comment from the Entropy Watchers, but I think it's good. You know, the first iteration of anti-SJW has always largely failed because much of it was comprised of, quote, skeptics TM who largely agree with it. I mean, you see this already. I mean, like I saw this on someone had put out a statement about the Steam group about, you know, the Sweet Baby Ink stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, there was a big announcement from one of the moderators. It's like, listen, we're not a hate site. You know, we're not a hate group. You know, we like gays, we like LGBT stuff, we think trans rights are human rights. So they're like skeptics all over again. You know, they already accept the presuppositional axioms.
Even
of their
Sargon
enemies.
did that. Yeah.
Like, well, yeah. I mean,
ethics in gaming journalism.
Yeah, ethics in gaming journalism. Although I think Sargon has developed, and people gave me shit the last time I made the reference to Anita versus Carl, but like Carl's a business owner and a father who is a lot more mature than what he was 5-10 years ago. I think that's a noticeable difference from who he was at the beginning. But sure, call him Sargoy or whatever. I'm not the person I want to pay attention to.
No, but I think, well, to answer the question before we move on.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do have a bone to pick with you, Prude. Not really. I don't have a bone to pick with you, but well, last week. No, Cyberchud 277. I don't think Gamergate failed because Gamergate did create a reactionary space for a lot of different people. But I think the initial wave of it, in terms of the repetitive nature of a lot of the anti-SJW YouTube channels, they did fail in the sense that they didn't transform politically like Sargon did. They had, and after a while, it just became about like talking about the same like feminist girl that's 18 years old making a video in her bedroom. She just came from women's studies class. Like that content was like just stale, right? And it got bodied. And of course, YouTube itself cleared the way for that breadtube reaction by banning a lot of those people. Because notice how the people that were banned were the ones that did transform politically, or the ones that did have a more explicitly right-wing politics, like Millennial Woes, like Stefan Molyneux. And, you know, Sargon slipped under the radar because he was going on to, like, he was just on the edge of being a lolcow with the whole UKIP stuff, but then he redeemed himself. So I think that the initial wave of Gamergate, same with the initial wave of the alt-right, by the way, failed in this sense of material power, but in terms of cultural power, I mean, in terms of cultural influence, then you could say that Gamergate, and yes, even a lot of the ideas that were present in the first wave of the alt-right, I mean, now like normie conservatives talk about, you know, demographics.
There is a circulation of ideas, more so than I would say personalities or elites, because I mean, even if you, who knows where we'll be in 10 years, right? I pray to God I'm not a lefty when I'm 34. That would be like a disaster waiting to happen. Man. But I mean, like, you have to look at, some people stayed the same and they kept their model, right? I think like Styx Hexenhammer is a good example, right? Like, I don't think he's changed. But he also has a good thing going for him. He's married. He's got he does the book editing and stuff like that.
I think, did he separate from his wife, or I don't know.
I have no. I haven't watched him in years. I have no idea. So I pray that that's not the case. I like when people stay married, but it does illustrate the. I mean, the ideas can circulate, I think, but there's also a cycle, right? Like every election cycle, there are these cream commentator guys that definitely that come out of there. And so
Vox Day, but unfortunately I think Vox Day, he sort of cloistered himself to his own fans, and you don't really hear about Vox Day anymore.
Well, because you really don't.
Well, he did create a lot of enemies too. That's another thing.
Well, I mean, that too, and there was also a lot of the January 6th stuff that he had blogged about that definitely.
Was he counter signaling, or was he?
No, he was more like, you know, trust the plan type deal.
He was Q posting. Okay, that's,
you know, like look at how odd I think he was just hedging his bets to some extent, but I don't. I occasionally read what he has to say. Sometimes he has a good take. Sometimes I agree with him. I'm never one to fully
denounce somebody.
Well, I don't fully. Well, that's not true. But I mean, I sometimes.
That's not true.
I do on occasion give people the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, yeah, he did schizo post on January 6th pretty hard. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I remember him saying like, look at all these times when Mike Pompeo would tweet. It's like every 30 minutes or whatever, or 33 minutes or something like that. I was like,
yeah,
I don't
Armored
know.
Skeptic is done for.
Well, I mean, he's. I mean, maybe don't base your fame off of one other personality. I don't know, like never. I don't want to say like don't be a parasite, but like don't be a sucker fish. Like if you're gonna ride on with somebody's fame or following, I mean, I think a thing to consider would just be like, hey, you know, while you do this, learn some skills so you can do your own thing. You know, it's like the former Timcast co-host, doesn't he do something on his own now? And he's got a pretty good following.
He's doing pretty good. What's his name?
Adam something, right?
Adam.
I have no idea.
I know because I was on him with BTR. You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. But like he does his own thing. Adam Kriegler, thank you.
Kriegler,
like he does his own thing. Like I mean, like that's the thing. If you're going to be attached to a larger name, be prepared, right, to like get out of there. You know, because eventually all partnerships or things end unless you have a good dynamic, which I think this dynamic is pretty good. Otherwise, the show would have ended like 80 episodes ago, right? Like.
Oh, speaking of bigger names, I think I'm going to be on UO this Monday to talk about Ben Garrison. Ben Garrison cartoons. So,
are you doing like a cigar stream?
Cigar stream, not UO. Cigar stream, yeah.
The history of Ben Garrison cartoons. You know what? I'll tune in.
Hopefully Mr. D comes on.
Talk about the cum edits. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna talk about the edits and yeah, because people were I know that AA wanted to do a stream on Ben Garrison. People were like, you should invite Gio. So I got the DM. And you know he ended up on that Hope Not Hate thing along with Tom Rousel. Did you see that? That was fucking stupid.
I think we talked about it at the beginning with AA.
Yeah, like what do these people accomplish with this type of stuff? It's sorry, Mr. D's never been on a cigar stream. I wonder if it's just gonna be me and AA. That'd be pretty cool.
Be
like
that the same way that you did the wrestling one.
Yeah. No, but I was joking. I don't really have a bone to pick. I was gonna mention about last week. Someone in my comments said that was such a brutal bodying that Prude did, where you said we were reading the Grimes thread, and you're like, okay. So
that wasn't. Honestly, God, that wasn't intentionally to be mean.
No, I know you were being.
I saw the comments, and I was like, that was not intended to be mean. I was like, Jesus.
That was so good, though. That was so good.
I mean,
like, how is okay? What did you say? Is this meaningful?
Oh no, I asked you. Why do you think it's interesting?
Why do you think it's interesting? And someone replies like, "That was a brutal own. That was a brutal."
It wasn't intended that way.
Oh man,
that really wasn't intended. But
oh,
I don't know. I also don't follow.
You fucking put me on the spot though. I had to word sell my way out of it.
It's like the someone had tweeted this a while ago. I wish he's not on Twitter anymore, unfortunately. But he had done the scene from The Martian with Matt Damon, and he's just like, I got a theory, sell the shit out of this.
No, but the thing is, I generally did like that thread because she talked about corporate surrealism. I thought, like, okay, listen, was it a bit of a mid-thread? Yes, but it's Grimes. It's, she's a smart girl, right?
So
but you're not gonna.
So it's mainly because it's Grimes.
And no, it's not just because it's Grimes. It's not just Grimes, but it was a. Listen, I think Grimes is an interesting and provocative conceptual artist. Her music's all right too. Her music's quite good. But I think like, the part of corporate surrealism and sort of like how the Gemini AI was like a performance art piece in some weird way, how it managed to capture the attention of people, but it's playing with like social conditions. I think that was quite, is it a 10 out of 10 post? I mean, I don't know. How much for 1-8 stand with Grimes? I wouldn't want a 1-8 stand with Grimes because I am faithful to my girlfriend, but
That's the correct answer.
Look at these people. 3 out of 5. Raider out of 10. Grimes is a beautiful woman who has 2 lovely children with our Lord and Savior Elon Musk. And how dare you people insult the purity of Grimes? How dare you? I can't believe that. Uh-oh, the Prude Jack. We better move on. She's a nice 7 or 8 out of 10. It's not. How can you say Grimes is 5
like
out
the
of
orange
10?
Julius Evola I made. I'm gonna stick to that.
Julius. Listen, if you can have 2 children and still maintain her figure like that, I mean, come on. You got to give her some slack there.
See, I think it needs to be the next content minded. It's just Gio rates the e-girls. You can bring back the e-girl, Emmys or whatever.
Yeah, the e-girl. Yeah, there was the e-girl tournament, and that was disastrous.
You can bring it back, Gio.
Bring it back. How would you guys like content minded if I bring on Bronze Age Shoddy? Would you guys like that? Press 1 for Bronze Age Shoddy for content minded. Press 2 if you say Gio. No way in hell am I ever listening to that. Press 1 for Bronze Age. Oh my! Puts 2.
I wouldn't watch it, but your audience is way different than mine.
Not so much. I don't know.
That would be a fun one, mid of the year. But that
mid
would
of the year, yeah.
Hosted by Gio and Billy Pratt.
I could ask her where, I could easily get Bronze Age Shoddy on content minded. Look, a lot of ones. Oh, what does 3 mean, NG Benji? What does 3 mean? 3. I guess 3 is the sunset option.
Bad Billy Pratt. I like Billy.
No, we could get Billy on, but I keep wanting to have Billy on, but he's like, oh, I gotta buy a microphone. Like, Billy, just buy a fucking microphone. Just do it on your phone. He came on BTR, Oh, 3 is for schizo. Okay. 3
okay.
Oh, man. Bronze Age Shoddy plus Billy plus Gio mid-day. That's not a threesome. That's a train. Get that right,
Oh, that's great.
With Gio's voice said it out.
That's really funny.
Oh, did you see the Tucker Cuomo interview?
No, I did not.
I watched like 50 minutes of them. Like they're just.
I had no desire to watch 2 former news anchor talking heads talk to one another. Like I just.
It was boring because they're just like, oh, we have to have a conversation with each other with different people. It's like, okay.
Didn't we do this 10 years ago? Oh, we just have to have a conversation with one another and let the marketplace of ideas play out. Dave Rubin it out. Like, no, you can rub it or Rubin it out. It's still not going to make the discourse any better.
Rubin it out. Yeah.
It's not going to make it any better. Like, we should know this already, right?
Like, speaking about Rubining it out, did you see? I don't know. I don't know how they don't have his name in every gay bar in every bathhouse in DC. Did you see the James O'Keefe? Did you see the latest?
Oh, I saw clips of it, and it's just like he
was a female to male trans.
I don't know if he's. I don't know what he is. To be honest, I don't care. I just think that I think it's ridiculously funny that James O'Keefe has been doing this shit since Obama, with Acorn and everything.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this for over 15 years, and you're telling me that you guys don't know what he looks like? And I get it, glasses or facial hair can change everything. And I mean, he acted the part very well. And so there are benefits to right-wing theater kids in this respect. See, honestly, Richard Spencer should just be doing his own form of this stuff,
oh yeah.
But again, he could, right? And so. The OPSEC for these libtards is absolutely in shambles, right? Just absolutely true, Bosco.
Yeah, they had to really hunt down links to dox Stone Toss. There are people that devote their lives to this shit. They got his email from Gab Leak and they connected it to the meeting of 8chan meeting in 2015.
And they connected it to when he allegedly used to do red panels.
Yeah.
So honestly, though, impressive on Stone Toss's part for not getting caught yet this far. I mean, he's a fucking millionaire now. It really doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
He has the Mission Impossible face mask. Yeah. Well,
there you go. Yeah.
There you go. You just
But there was a comment I received because I said that maybe these gay guys in DC, they're doing it to spice things up at the office the next day. But one guy said, he goes, I've been around a lot of older gay middle-aged to when you approach 30, like gay guys, and he's like, Gio, you got to realize that if like a semi-handsome white guy is talking to them, to like more of a schlubby gay guy in a gay bar, like, they'll say they're it's like, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. You're lonely and you're not in a committed relationship with another gay guy. It's like, I could see why they would like be charmed by someone like James O'Keefe, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's kind of sad when you really think about it. I mean, I know these
Anon,
people work to hate, they hate us and all that, but it is
yeah.
kind of sad.
Anon says James O'Keefe would have been a great asset during the Lavender Scare. Yeah.
Oh
he
yeah.
would have been great. Yeah, you can't be doxxed if you're a black woman. Oh, the meme that Stone Toss is a black woman.
It's a black woman, yeah.
It's a funny meme. It's a funny meme.
It's funny.
But I don't
People
think
thought Gravantis was a black woman.
Really?
Yeah, that was a meme back in the day. Gravantis was a black woman.
So maybe you can explain it for my newbie self, but like, so what is the running meme about trying to kill him?
Oh,
like
he always
screenshots people saying like, yeah, Graventus has to die, and I'm like, what has this guy ever done? Like,
I think it was from an Orthodox Discord group or something like that. It was a meme. It's not serious. It's just.
Well, I figured as much, but I was just like, where does this come from? Because like, he seems like one of the nicer Twitter posters with a large following. I was just like, damn, who did you really upset to have someone like, you're always screenshotting people who want to kill you? I'm like,
he brought back Sings the Online Elders too, eh?
He did, which is one of my favorite gimmick accounts ever, because he's actually ran by someone who's not mentally ill or a raging left. There are two gimmick accounts on Earth that are good. It's Every Frame of the Sopranos, and it's the Sayings of the Online Elders. Those are the only two gimmick accounts that are ran, because both of them are ran by like solidly right-wing conservative religious people. That's all that matters to me. Like, hey, you guys aren't a nutcase. Thank you so much.
The best was when every Sopranos shot, he was like editing the clips to say like, oh my god, and they got all the irony leftists like grew up watching Sopranos, they got so pissed off. That was funny.
They get what they deserve.
Yeah, me at the bar with MILFs. There you go, Speed Kaczynski.
Sped Kaczynski.
Special Kaczynski. Whatever happened to what was his name? Was it Sped Kaczynski or it was another Kaczynski? He had his throat cut. You know what I'm talking about?
You mean the hockey player?
No. This is a Twitter poster. You guys remember?
Oh yeah.
Kaczynski?
Oh, Trail Cams is good too. Yeah, because I remember some like
good,
lefty thread saying, "Oh, he's a fascist," and it's just like, so okay, some raging leftist is calling you a fascist. Odds are you're probably an okay guy.
Yeah, Thad Kaczynski. Whatever happened to Thad Kaczynski? I think people said he went to jail or something again. I don't know. Yes. But he was a great poster, and his story was crazy. He had his throat slit on a reservation out in like Arizona, and he like had to walk like 3 miles to get to help, and he lived. And I remember, that was crazy.
Every stream can be a member bearing stream if you're ready for it,
Yeah, there was like same with people in my thread. Like I don't know, I might lock my account tonight. Like they were like, "Oh, he's a Nazi." I go, "Yeah, who cares?" Like, I don't know. It's just, the Stone Toss docs could have been way worse. Put it that way.
Well, it is a blessing for him that it happened after he's rich and has screw you money. Like he's never going to stop doing what he does.
No, and that's correct.
Like, why would you? Why would you?
Exactly, and that's what I said in the thread. I said that it was correct. It was the correct thing to do because you never apologize. You never give them what they want, which is to go away or to grovel and cower and say that, "Oh yes, you're correct about me, and I'm very sorry." Because if you're Stone Toss and you're like making content clowning on every single leftist group, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna apologize for that? Like, no. It's like, so he's like, here, buy my plushie, buy my NFTs. Fuck you. Like, it's okay. Like, that's the correct answer. And the whole thing about like people can come and harass you in real life. Listen, I know I shouldn't bring this up, but like those TRS guys, they live in like normal middle class, whatever, like you're going to go to Mike Enoch's house and harass him. No, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you go to public rallies, then fine. Right. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, so hopefully as much as I hate him, it's kind of like Richard and Anya. right? Like, did Hania really suffer for being exposed as Richard Hosty?
Well, no,
Whoa.
because
He became worse. He
he's
posted
like,
even more cool.
I can piss off both sides every time I tweet.
Yeah.
And honest to God, though, his book is like, hey, what if we just took Caldwell's idea about the Civil Rights Act and then we just threw on some more stats with the snarkiest, most like self-aggrandizing prose imaginable. That's his book.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why I own a copy. I didn't pay for it, but yeah, it's
Richard Roasty.
Richard Colsty. That's
Richard Colsty. There you go.
Richard Colsty. There you go.
Well, same with the couple that runs Antelope Hill or what's another famous docs? I'm trying to think.
Maybe we shouldn't be talking about people who've been doxxed out of respect for the fact that they've been doxxed.
No, true. But my point being is that you have to continue on, right? You have to like move forward. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
$2 million in NFT books is enough that he could carefully invest and not worry about money ever again.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, Borzoi got done. That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, right, just it happens. It's going to happen with each cycle. And I imagine that as the state gets more teeth out of either fear of, power or wanting to just like continue to weaponize the system against their enemies, there will be another cycle of doxing again. And there will be, everyone from, we already see it, right? Like we know people who've gotten doxed. We've been in chats where people have admitted that they're under attack. Some big Twitter accounts already in this cycle have been doxed and attacked. And for fuck's sake, like it doesn't go away. It does make your life harder because and we already know people like this. Like it's very hard it's a lot easier to restart now than it once was.
Yeah.
But again, this cycle is going to continue again. And I think it goes back to your point about the leftist pushback. The things that led to the radicalization of the left, say 25 years ago, it's going to come back in full force. But it will be worse this time because the left of today is more diverse, less white, and is far more ready with state support to harass, target, and injure people.
Yeah.
If you thought the bike lock stuff of 2016 was fun, I imagine it will be a lot worse in the next 3 years.
Yeah, when you even think about it, like Anita Sarkeesian isn't even that bad in terms of like her, like she's just a bog standard feminist leftist. Like she just became a symbol, right? Like she wasn't even that radicalized compared to like these like Twitch leftists that came after her. Like it's kind of crazy when you think about it, how Anita is just like, she's relatively mid when it comes to everything, right? Like it's just okay. Anita became a symbol of Gamergate, but like the people that came after her, way crazier. So yeah, you're right. Like it's still a reality. I mean, I know they're trying to go after Chris Rufo like really hard, but I mean, when you work for organizations, it's kind of like more difficult to go after you. But yeah, they're targeting him too. You know why? Because like as much as I disagree with a lot of Chris Rufo's centrism or certain aspects of his whatever, the reality is they're terrified of Chris Rufo. Like he actually has led to meaningful change in a lot of school districts. So, and he doesn't have to take on the affectations of like far right discourse to be effective, So I think that's why they're really trying to go after him, So yeah, it is what it is. But anyways, we should move on.
Well, let's get to the article because
there's going to be Gamergate 3, Gamergate 4, Gamergate 5.
There was that thing from Hard Drive magazine or whatever, the satire guys. They were just like, Sweet Baby Ink assures us that you don't have to know anything about Gamergate 1 to enjoy and appreciate Gamergate 2. And I think that was pretty good. And I mean, I listened to a little bit of Mr. Medicare's stream that was live a couple of days ago. He's not dead. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, funny how Rogan came back to YouTube and no one cared. Well, you had Lex Friedman like as the like stand-in, waiting in the wings replacement. Like that's the important thing to consider out of all of this, right? Is that like what came after this? Well, you already had someone ready to go. And I mean, Rogan, by going to Spotify, people just stopped caring.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone watch Joe Rogan when he went to Spotify? Like, a lot of people transitioned from YouTube to Spotify. No, we got a different audience, as it is when you go to any other new platform. You get a different audience, and you're going to figure it out, and that's where it's going to go.
People watch Rogan clips on YouTube more than the actual.
That's true. They do watch Rogan clips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came back to YouTube.
Apparently.
Hmm.
Apparently.
Didn't he have Raker as well?
Yes, he did. And I remember that someone had like quote tweeted him saying like, "Yeah, you messed up," you know.
I wouldn't want to have Raker as well. And that's
I
just
wouldn't want to have any of those guys on. I had a phone call earlier today with our friend TR Hudson, and he was just like, you notice how all these like UFO guys that go on like Rogan and Friedman or whatever, like they all have the same script and they all have like the same sort of like ideas or sources that are like ex-CIA guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, well, I mean, does everyone just forget like that every person that we have, like we have all these, the world's largest air force is the United States Air Force. What's the second largest air force in the world? The United States Navy. You don't think that like a lot of this UFO stuff isn't just like to drum up like budgetary wars as it's been since the 60s with Project Blue Book? I don't know. Like that's part of my take there. It's just like, come on.
I will say the Bob Lazar interview was kind of compelling though. But maybe because when you're a kid and you watch UFO documentaries on TLC, you know what I mean? Like it's yeah.
When you're younger,
I still believe
it's
UFOs are real, but it's just I don't know.
I'm just like,
I can't believe I get more controversy now by saying UFOs are real on the E-Right than like anything. You know what I mean? Like, oh man.
You would expect that. I don't know. Isn't it crazy though that like that's sort of just the deal with like the moon landing or anything like that? You get more shit from the right than you do the left.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the whole argument about what's the word I'm looking for?
Conspiratards.
Well, sure, but like
schizo posting.
I mean, it's just interesting to see like because I mean, 15 years ago, what was raw milk and stuff like that was all like hippies,
Yeah.
And now it's all on the right. I mean, that does illustrate how far things have changed, but also how easy it has been to socially incentivize people to just like give up everything.
Yeah.
It was funny when AA's brother predicted that there would be fake alien contact, and that basically happened. I mean, that was a good prediction, and like no one cares,
Academic Agent has a brother?
Yeah, he does. He has a brother.
Oh wow.
AA talks about him every now and then. I think he's got his own channel as well.
Oh wow.
Until guys lie for a living, why would anyone listen to them? Well, if you've got stuff to do, that's for sure. But let's get to today's article before we are on the show way longer than I thought we were going to be. All right. So this is from our friends over Mr. E. Grove, well-known. What's the word I'm looking for?
That word kind of sounded funny when you said it, Mr. Never mind.
Mr. E. Grove. That's how I have it. That's how I have it in the description for today's stream. Is Mr. spelled out E. Grove. Mr.
Yeah.
E. Grove.
No, it kind of sounded like a semi-bannable word on YouTube.
I don't know which word you're referring to, but I'm not going to find out.
No, never mind.
It's like I don't want to think about it then. Okay, so this is from Political and Cultural Transformation in the Era of Massive Psychic Damage. So let me go zoom in real quick. From our good friends over at the Conundrum Cluster. So enjoy. Mr. Nathan Ego. That word is acceptable.
They used to get ghost with that back in the day, where like he would read the Twitter handles and
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you mean now. I didn't even think about that. Mr. Knee. Okay.
Conundrum Cluster. That's like another old head reference. That was like someone asked Tourette's guy in one video. There's like back in 2007. He's like his kid asked him, "What do you think of George W. Bush?" He goes, "Oh, you mean Colonel Clusterfuck?" It's
so true. It's a bit of a long article. I don't know if we'll read the whole thing, but I do want to start with this one. Like I always find this funny because he did have that the California stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a mental model is basically your internal understanding of how the outside world works. When you see something happens, it might have happened for 1,000 different reasons, but you'll have one particular reason in your head to explain how and why it happened. This is usually not a conscious process. It's more like a reflex, which is how we get heuristics for our mental models, right? Understanding mental models is important today because even though everyone is nominally responding to the same real world, people think that the world works in very different ways. I'm sure that you've noticed that oftentimes when you talk about politics or current events with someone else, it seems like you are talking to a crazy person. They might be intelligent, or they might even be credentialed or well-educated or whatever, You might have known them for years, but there's something that's just not connecting for them, no matter how well you explain it, and it never will. This is because there are mental models essentially understanding the world that normal people will just never be exposed to in the course of their regular lives. He's already written about this phenomenon in history. He has a whole article about it. People have understand the world through stories and anecdotes. As people become more disconnected from reality due to television and the internet, the stories that they will take, that they accept, take on a crazier and crazier tone, even though they remain relatively high functioning. They can go to work, maintain relationships with friends and family, and seem very reasonable until you hit one of their emotional tripwires. After that, they can become very unreasonable. So true. So yeah, about mental models of history. Take the Michael Brown shooting in Ferguson, Missouri. That was 10 years ago.
You might be Mike Brown.
Mike
I remember
Brown.
Sam.
Hands up, don't shoot. This was the incident that led to the professionalization of the Black Lives Matter movement, which raised billions and billions of dollars and ultimately reshaped criminal justice and hiring practices nationwide. The controversy over Brown's shooting was entirely fake. The shooting was unambiguously justified. The phenomenon activists were responding to about an unarmed black man being killed by police is actually extremely rare. It's about a dozen per year, which is less than a rounding error of a country of more than 300 million people. I've heard people say that it's crazy to think that the number of unarmed black men killed by police is 10,000 plus per year.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this. People think this. Yeah.
Oh, I mean the same way that people overrepresent or people think that America's like 20% gay. You know, like they think that like 1 in 5 people's a homosexual.
No, even like one time, this was years ago, I because of commercials, I asked my old man, or I asked my parents, it's like, okay, what percentage of America do you think is African American? And he's like, I don't know, like 40%, 45%. I go, no, it's 13% of America. He goes, what? Like, what? No way. Like, it's like a lot of boomers, they literally, like, outside of America, they think like America's like 40% black, like, yeah. But anyways, yeah, people don't really, Mike Brown really did. Was Mike Brown during Obama?
Yeah.
So it did usher in a lot of legislation.
The son I never had, Trayvon Martin and all that other, and Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot, all of the stuff.
Yeah, a lot of training of the, I mean, I'm not opposed to like police being trained, but then if the training is like, you can't actually, enforce laws, then.
Well, yes, Alone in the Woods, but also no. And like, this is what Grove is going to talk about is that just basically when your mental model is told by the media, academia, the state, popular culture, that's the acceptable model. That's the socially agreeable and accepted incentive to believe in that like 10,000 plus black people are shot by the cops with no reason.
Yeah. There are people that believe that that Kyle Rittenhouse killed 3 black people.
Yeah, they're literally people who think that Rittenhouse killed 3 black guys, despite the fact he didn't. And that if you are living in America, Armored Republic has the Kyle Rittenhouse bundle for $999.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you gonna buy it?
No. I don't
what
have
is the
I don't have a
Rittenhouse
grand
bundle?
to drop. Are you fucking crazy?
What is it? What is it like?
It's a vest.
Oh.
With magazine rounds and some plates.
Yeah, apparently some states they ban the use of body armor. You can't buy body. I know in Canada you can't buy body armor.
Yeah, there are people who think Kyle's a murderer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll carry on here.
I'll read the next.
Yeah, here you go.
All right. So what is going on here? The controversy was fake. The issue is fake, but the feelings are real. That's the important point. The feelings are real. It's not cynical for overwhelming majority of participants. The violence is real too. What are they all reacting to? Why did tens of thousands, and when you really think about the summer of love, during COVID, when they were told to stay inside, remember this, okay? Why did tens of thousands of people participate in armed mobs, roadblocks, looting, and so forth? Why are people shooting innocent drivers over this? While they're reacting to decades of propaganda from the media and schools, and even their parents. The talk.
Oh yeah, I mean that's also what got John Derbyshire fired.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because he wrote a counter talk for white people.
That's also how Michael Savage got kicked off of CNN back in the day. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Because he said that that black parents in the ghetto, they would like diagnose their kids as autistic to get government money. Yeah. In short, their mental model tells them the propaganda they see on TV is real, and also that the appropriate response to this propaganda is real world violence. The real mental model that these people have developed after the Ferguson incident was that everything professional race activists say is a lie, and that the large numbers are happy to use these lies to justify violence. Yes, that's right, after the Ferguson, but then you have the Summer of Floyd, which is like 10 times.
Yeah, the Ferguson effect and now the Floyd effect.
Yeah. I think I'm the only person who remembers this, but during the initial Floyd riots, many right-wingers were supporting the rioters until using the number of pretexts. You know who supported the Floyd rioters? Because he said that was the real vitalism? Cantbot. You can look those tweets up. He supported
someone I don't even think about.
Yep. No, but there were memes, remember, where it's like a black looter and he's like, what a fine young revolutionary specimen. And Black Looter's like, give me your TV. I remember that meme. The writers were really speaking out against government abuse or manifesting the true bronzy. So
there's the
that is where Mystery
reference.
Grove gets it from, because Campbot was saying that to troll BAP. I remember this. Yeah. And Logo was saying that to troll BAP. It was not, see, you gotta have an old head here to understand this. It was it was not a small there you go. It was not a small number of right-wingers who were cheering on the revolution. Even those who opposed BLM during the 2020 riots responded mostly with passivity. Many suggested that even though they might oppose the rioters' methods, the rioters kind of had a point. The consequences of these rioting, total surrender to BLM criminal justice policy proposals almost nationwide, may have had such a visible negative impact on quality of life that the people are now allowed to mentally object to movements and its aims. But it was touch and go for a while. Attitudes may be changing. Republicans and moderates, to the extent they still exist, seem to be getting to the right place, or at least they're open to being brought there on many issues. But the civilizational reflex revealed in 2020 should be sending alarm bells through everyone's heads.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for the shooting of Michael Brown, people heard that a young black man had been killed by the police. Their mental model had told them that young black men are systematically targeted by trigger-happy cops, and that's what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, in 2014. No new piece of evidence could convince them otherwise, even though the initial story was almost immediately discredited and the police officer was completely exonerated. They were speaking a different language. In fact, their conviction in this belief was only strengthened by similar, equally fake outrage stories that emerged in the years that followed. This model was echoed in entertainment media, news, and the education system. This is how people think the world works, and it's just not real. The mental models people have today are fried. Everything a person knows about a given subject might be completely fake. The exact opposite happens when they learn what might be true. This phenomenon has been around for a very long time. Take the Sacco and Vanzetti case. There have been tens of thousands of pages written and movies made, etc., claiming that the pair were innocent when they were actually pretty much all the evidence available suggests that they were guilty, and that at the very least the pair were active members of a terrorist organization rather than peaceful political dissidents that they are painted as in nearly all media related to the case. Propaganda can snowball for centuries until the only story people will be exposed to is a complete inversion of what actually happened. This gives them some bizarre mental models.
Yeah, well, wasn't the plague blankets another fabrication?
I'm pretty sure to some extent.
That a lot of the transference of diseases that the indigenous people didn't have antibodies to or just happened naturally. Like it wasn't you know what I mean? Like, so this is the point, though. A lot of information, when you control the institutions that facilitate the exchange of information. I mean, look at the Google search engine, right?
Yeah. Or what Tom Roswell's done is just about like the Cheddar Man. Like if you rewrite history and your mental model is that like, oh, Europe has always been black and diverse and whatever, like the same thing applies.
Yeah.
Which is why
what's so scary about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean this is why I think that the right does play more into nostalgia, simply because like there is actual evidence that these places were like 99% white forever until recently.
Yeah. No, but also like the fact that the facilitation of information has been so thoroughly disrupted that it's like yeah, the mental model most people have is incredible. Like even people that are more conservative or right leaning will have certain elements of history distorted or so forth. It really is like, it is like what Huxley called the final revolution in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, right? Yeah, it's like
absolutely.
the revolution of children in the future. This is what he said in his Berkeley address about the book Brave New World, that the final revolution is a revolution of consciousness, that the children of the future will have no model of what it was like in the past or what information was like before the present ideological totalization. And it's
Yeah,
like, that's, you know, Zoomers today probably, they're not going to remember like a lot of things about the 2000s or even the 2010s, you know. So that's, let alone the 1990s, 1980s, you know, going way back, right? Yeah, I mean, let
yeah.
alone the 1580s, people don't know. You know, I think Tom Rousel was getting it in. He was getting it in today with some academic that was trying to like say that about the history of Rome. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, it's like the academics themselves are the ones that facilitate this mass psychosis. You know, that's incredibly scary, right? And history departments, like people like him, Survive the Jive, people like um Stone Age Herbalist, they say like anthropology and history and classics, they've been totally taken over.
Yeah.
And but anyways, yeah, that's
No, I think that there's a lot of truth to that
time for
for
your
sure.
daily dose of black pills. Um
Eh, I don't know. I mean, like this is just true though. I don't think it's a black.
yeah.
I mean, like if reality is a black pill, I'm sorry to tell you this, but maybe your own mental model for the world needs adjustments.
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
we should skip this part because it's like about
yeah, it's a
racism.
well,
We'll
this
get to
is
the meat
but
of
this
it.
part is true, and I quoted this
Oh,
in
okay,
an
yeah,
article I
that
wrote.
this one, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I quoted this in that Politics of the Eternal Now. But basically this one. Actually, this
America.
whole yeah, this
Oh,
one is yeah, go for it.
oh, it's America has a bomb sitting in its lap. There are tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of Americans who will believe so crazy that they likely would have been grounds for hospitalization in the past. The
So
things
true.
people, yeah, so true. The things people will support are objectively depraved. Jailing people for self-defense, providing irreversible pseudoscientific surgeries to mentally ill children, letting criminals steal with impunity, allowing tens of millions of people to illegally immigrate for the express purpose of politically transforming the US. What's more, they're real passionate about their support, about this support. It is not cynical or financially motivating for the overwhelming majority. Rather, it taps into the deepest feelings, messages that they've been heard for years, even decades. Conservatives, even if they understand the issues facing the country, generally do not seem to grasp the size of this bomb and what it means for resolving political problems today. They try to negotiate with the bomb. They argue with the bomb. They count on the bomb to act rationally and with proportionality. Edgier conservatives think that they can solve the problems by yelling at the bomb. Yeah, Ben Shapiro, everyone. Or blowing the bomb up in their own lap. All these solutions have much to be desired. You have to disarm the bomb. So that's the thing, though, is that this
I don't know if
debate,
you can.
you can, because the debate that has been going on for such a long time is that it happened with like the post-left people. Is
Yeah.
that like they're not really sincere, the
But
quote
they are.
capital, but
Like
they
that's the
are.
thing.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
business side, and I said this like on one of my earlier videos, which has some of it is aged very badly. Some
yeah.
of the other parts of it are okay. And one of the things I said is that like woke capital, when they people say, oh, that movie isn't made for you, they're right. They're honest
Mm-hmm.
because it's not made for straight white people. It's not made for people like Gio and I. It's not made for people like those of you in the chat.
You're like cool
What is it made
divers.
for? Well, I got my essay in my like 20 minutes on a stream for it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But like it's not for you, right? And so who
Mm-hmm.
is it for? It's for the next generation. It's for the young consumer who will see it in the commercials and be conditioned and be propagandized and find it to be socially agreeable. If it's on TV, if it's on Twitter, if it's on TikTok, if it's on YouTube, if it's on Twitch, it's all socially agreeable. And what does that tell us? If it's not made for you and me, they're being honest with you and they're telling you it's for children, it's for libtards, it's for people who are likely to become libtards. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
important thing to consider in that respect. And
Yeah,
so,
we
yeah,
don't watch Euphoria. But you know,
I don't watch Euphoria. I've never seen a single thing that fucking Zidania's in or whatever her name is. Like I haven't seen anything that Sydney Sweeney is in. Like it's not what I particularly care about in that respect. And so I think
Sweeney.
I don't care. I really
Yeah.
don't. You know,
no, but my point was that like
yeah.
the thing, like to add to your point, like it never got me as like either leftoids or like post-leftists or like moderate conservatives where they're like, well, corporations would actually believe in that. But the point being is that even if a CEO of a company that's pushing like Pride Month or whatever, even if they don't materially actually believe it, it doesn't matter if they have a good faith in that position, the way that leftoids like to say about like rainbow capitalism. The social conditioning happens either way. So the end result, the consequence of it, goes against the deontological argument for the purity of faith in like leftist policy positions or ideology. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Corporations are still woke. They're still gonna fire people that are, you know, anti-woke. They're still, I hate that term woke, but you know what I mean. They're still going to go after people. It's not like anything has fundamentally changed in that equation. So when people say, do you know those corporations, they're going to put the pride flag away after June, right? It's like, who cares if they put it away after June?
They've already done what's necessary. I had to laugh my ass off too, because when I listened to that Medicare stream the other day, I just laughed because he was like, well, if you really want to hold them to account, you force them, all these companies, to put the pride flag up in Saudi Arabia for gay rights. And it's just like, no.
No,
like what talking point is this from 2015? Sorry, Jim. Like we already know the answer to that. It's not for them. It is for us.
Yeah.
Well, not you.
But yeah, but Jim is like a Gen X older.
No, I get it. I get it. And it's not to speak ill of the dead, but like,
yeah, well,
it is just a point to consider that like they know who it's for, and they know who they're going after, and they know why they do it, and it's not. All they got to do is just wait this out, and this.
Well, same with H. Norwood guy. Like he was there with Jim harassing people and
thirsty for blood.
Yeah, like he's
all the cannot be contained. I love this. They did the song edit of him. It was so fucking good.
Yeah, no, but like all of these like irony leftists, they're like aging millennials in their mid-30s. They were all in something awful, dropping the hard R and going after people and saying tard and like, you know, they can easily find a mental model out of that. Yeah. I mean, it's a form of bad faith, obviously, but at the end of the day, like, here's the thing about the garbage ape docs. For speaking about doxes, you know what? You know what's more terrifying about
one of the few times where someone's posting a matched their face.
Yeah, their avatar matched the face. No, but you know what's like really? It's not even the fact that like he's ugly or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm not the prettiest guy, but you know what's like the thing that was more terrifying about it wasn't even the fact that he's an ugly bald guy. You know what's really terrifying with the Garbage Ape Docs is that he's a school board administrator. A guy like that.
Oh, geez. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. He. You know what he does for his Ohio, wherever he's from? I think Ohio. He helps administer and facilitate school curriculums for his district, if I recall correctly. That's what Garbage Ape does for a living.
That's terrifying. Yeah. But that does illustrate the point that we're making here. Yeah, no, that's a good. I didn't. Yeah. Trying to get close to children. That's true.
Well, yeah, but I mean, not to accuse anyone of anything, but like, no, like the fact that he has ideological control over what children are consuming or being inculcated with in school, like that's, to me, I don't really care that he's ugly. It's not the point. It's like, okay, he's ugly, but you know, like, let's be real for a moment here. Like, he has a position where he's influencing future generations, however small that may be in his school district. But it's still, it's like you said, you had that tweet, I remember, with the Giga Chad. You know, when you're a kid and you're on a camping trip and you have like the light, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Where's my phone?
Oh, yeah.
Let me do it.
You did the flashlight bit? Yeah. And
there are thousands of Fannie Willises in America. You know? No, No, but that tweet is true.
There
There's
were 1,000
thousands.
garbage apes all over America. Yeah.
Oh my god! But that's what's so terrifying about it. Like,
No, it's true. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. That is terrifying.
Oh, anyways, let's move on. My skepticism towards speaking of Fannie Willis, my skepticism towards paths like national divorce, civil war, or really anything that substantially disrupts the current system has been greatly criticized for years. People often tell me that I just don't know how bad things are because I, at least used to, live in San Francisco Bay Area.
Bro, what?
What?
Okay, well, there's an elite tech bubble, I guess, that you can avoid the shit and all
Mystery
that.
Grove is an Asian woman, confirmed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Work in tech market and eat avocado toast. Actually, I actually kind of like avocado toast. My skepticism towards these things doesn't come from my minimizing the problems we face. Rather, I think that the situation for the American right is actually much worse than these people think it is. We are supposedly more extreme than me who realize. The bomb isn't just a small group of radical liberal government officials, anarchist heroin addict terrorists, or comically naive kindergarten teacher types. It's probably over half the country. It's your friends and family and neighbors, people who had never done you any wrong in your life. They're not bad people, but they have been primed to support very bad things, or at least oppose anyone who wants to stop the bad things. In a crisis, these people could not be relied upon to do anything productive. In fact, they should be counted on to try and block any productive action. So I think he's doing like a banality of evil argument as viewed from the right, more or less.
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
Yeah. No, but it's correct, though. It is a correct thing because if you do have, well, it's sort of like what I was saying about doxing is that if you have labeled people as this thing that everyone should hate, it's like it's literally as simple as the counter signal meme, right?
Yeah.
Not that I endorse A Wyatt Man. That's where the counter signal memes come from, right? It's A Wyatt Man.
Yes.
Not that we endorse, but like
I'm online enough to know where that came from.
Yeah, exactly. But it's literally as simple as that one A Wyatt Man comic. We call ourselves the good guys, therefore you're the bad guys. And people will be conditioned.
Someone in chat on the entropy said that like a lot of this programming stuff, it's literally the burgers meme.
Yeah.
It's literally stone toss. Burgers? Yeah, exactly. It's not for you.
It's like a gay guys kissing burgers.
Burgers. Yeah, burgers.
No, but that's why Stone Toss is also named because he really is that effective. He really is like
you can literally just say burgers and everyone knows what you're referring to.
Yeah,
it's that good.
No, but even like, there's tweets that he retweeted about like where leftists are like, "Damn, Stone Toss made me laugh. I can't believe this."
Did it again.
Did it again.
Did it again.
Yeah. An incident.
This does remind me. This does remind me a lot, though. This paragraph especially reminds me a lot. I mentioned this in the AMA stream I did on Monday. It was just like there was that article from Giant saying like you need a white Obama, like a white conservative Obama.
Oh yeah, that one.
Someone who can hold the hands of libtards and bring them back to reality while giving them the catharsis that they want. And I thought that these two articles paired very well together because this sort of like orgiastic schizophrenia needs someone to walk them down the bad trip. I don't know how. I'm torn, and maybe that's because my own biases, right, tell me that I can't do that. But they're arguing for it, and I want to consider the argument in good faith because maybe I am being biased enough to consider that. Can you walk these people down? Can you like introduce the lithium back into the water supply and make? Can you put the woke away? Well, that's the argument that I'm hearing is like, can you do it? And I don't know. And like the answer is no, because you're not in power. Could Trump? I think do it
white
with, like, all the
liberals, you probably could, but not.
You can do it with white liberals. You cannot do it with any other group.
No.
Maybe with
and not even trans white liberals. You couldn't do it.
Yeah,
that'll never happen.
Oh well, no. I mean, no. Once you have a trans liberal, I'm sorry that person is forever part of the transary class, and it's not going anywhere.
Well, unless they detransition and they regret it, but that's even still like, yeah.
I don't even know the actual numbers for that because they get so reported all differently,
I think the vast majority of detransitioners are young girls.
Yeah.
Teenage or teenage girls that enter their 20s. are the vast majority of detransitioners.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of like in a non-binary, or like they may have done the hysterectomy, but not the mastectomy, but they, like, yeah, there's
yeah. I mean, I don't think you can. That's the thing. Is that I don't think you're going to get the yeah,
AGPs, no way. Autogonophiles, no way. No, they'll never.
No, you can't.
It's over.
That's the thing.
There will be. I think there'll probably be like some like HSTS passing trans people that will do like the whole like, what's her name? The token trans white. What's her name?
Blair White.
I can't believe I forgot her name. Blair White. Like there will be some of them like that. If there was like,
here's the thing, Mike Cirillo has. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, I know.
And he was selling his wigs and shit to make money.
Deleted his account,
Like you're not. I don't think you can de-radicalize these people. I think
you can't.
This is the point that Grove makes. I think it's sort of the answer here, because he says the bomb isn't just a small group of radical liberal government officials, anarchist heroin addict terrorists, or comically naive kindergarten teacher types. It's probably over half the country. It's your friends, families, neighbors, and people who've never done you any wrong in your whole life. They're not bad people, but they've been primed to support very bad things, or at the very least oppose anyone who wants to stop the bad things. In a crisis, these people could not be relied upon to do anything productive. They, in fact, should be counted on to try and block any productive action. Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's the thesis. This is why maybe white liberals you could do this too, but I doubt that. Because let's face it, how many people leave cults? Not many.
Not many,
and not many people leave cults. Not many people leave Scientology. Not many people leave, like, hell, Jim Jones, right? Not many people leave Jim Jones. And the people that followed him until the end are all dead.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this. This is why I think that this is sort of the answer to the JAQs thing, because you don't have government, you don't have the media, you don't have Hollywood, you don't have the major centers of academic or institutional power.
Yeah.
This stays. This stays. This is not going anywhere.
Well, barring the rumors that Jim Jones was a CIA experiment and people were being forced with needles to, but you're right, you're correct. Like in the example, I mean, there's Heaven's Gate. I mean,
how many people left Heaven's Gate? Like, what, 2 people didn't do it because of whatever reason, and they still run the website or whatever?
4 people. But yeah, 2 people. No. 4 people left. 2 of them did it anyways a few years after.
Okay.
Because they felt survivor's guilt, and they felt like, yeah. But there is one guy out in the Arizona desert who I believe there was a documentary about it in 1994. Fascinating. Interviewed one of the survivors. But no, I think that white heterosexual leftists who are like either men or women, you could probably pull to the center, especially if they have children. I think older black guys you could pull to the center, older Hispanics you probably pull to the center, but younger ones, Zoomers, forget about it.
Good luck.
Because they're incentivized. I mean, if your identity was being placated, and I mean, why would you de-radicalize? Why, you know what I mean? Like it's like if you're taught to believe that everyone to the right of you is a dangerous neo-Austrian painter that wants you dead, it's like, of course you're going to be like, well, I'm going to treat those people like human.
Yeah.
No, of course not. So I think TERFs, obviously, like that's already happened. I think like older women, older black and Hispanic guys, you probably could push to the center who are, but they'll still vote Democrat though. They'll still vote, you know what I mean? Like, but
and I mean, let's face it. And I mean, again, this illustrates the lack of control, right? Is that every television show, every law, cop, order, procedural, right? Everything from like Law and Order to the Blacklist to every criminal procedure on TV, the moment Trump got elected, fascism, the alt-right, incels, gamers, I mean, body cameras on cops and police, everything imaginable for a progressive pet issue while Trump was in office went immediately as far to the left as they could in order to tell people time and time again that this is the nature of how evil you are, like how evil the regime is, i.e. Trump. Even though Trump has no power whatsoever and didn't have any power really whatsoever, because he was limited at every turn and corner by the press, academics, and the bureaucracy.
And by the Republican Party.
And by the Republican Party. And
Yeah.
well, I mean that's part of the state, part of the regime.
Oh yeah, that's right, part of the apparatus. Yeah,
It's not like there's good. Well, there's a few good Republicans.
there's a
but
few of them, but
there's some good ones, right? But I mean, like this is the point that's important here is that like these are the millions of people that respond to incentives, the desire to be seen in the socially agreeable position. Like, yeah, sure, it's a lot easier, I think, these days maybe to be openly right wing in some respects, but like it's not the socially agreeable position. No one wants to be called out in like in a crowded restaurant that they're a Republican, and no one wants to be called out for saying that they're right wing in a public space because let's face it, that reflex that he's talking about here is true. People are going to want to like throw you out or hiss at you or spit in your food. Like there is, and this is sort of what also Yarvin talks about with the two-story state stuff, right? Like there are two realities here. Actually, there's millions of realities, but one of those realities, a lot of the progressive ones, they all get corralled in very effectively under that intersectional model. And I mean, I think that's a big failing point for a lot of like the anti-SGW eras. They can talk about intersectionality all they want. And like you can talk about oppression Olympics all you want. But like some of that stuff was good enough to work with as material to tell people that actually it doesn't matter if you're a single issue. And I've said this before on the air, like say you're a white liberal leaning man or woman in Colorado who really hates industrial farming and wants to support the animals and donates to PETA. Okay. You're a single issue voter, but it doesn't matter because, and everyone and other people pointed this out too, but because you're a progressive on this one issue, the camp requires you now to be in a totalizing position.
You have to vote for gay race communism. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to vote for gay race communism, and you got to suck the girl dick, bigot. Like that's the way it works. And it's like everyone forgets this lesson. I don't know why, but they shouldn't.
Yeah. No, I mean, does it happen on the right wing? I don't know. Maybe not nearly enough. I mean,
no. I mean, I think a lot of people do agree on some basic fundamental things.
Yeah.
Order is good, posterity's good, religion good, gay race communism bad, right?
Transing kids bad, yeah.
Transing kids bad, but then if you try, but I mean, our models have a lot more in common because we're all also in reaction to what has happened.
Right, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
but I mean, I couldn't think of it. Maybe like gun-toting libertarians have to like.
Oh well, they're
all right. I don't know. Like, what would be an example?
Good. I'm going to move down to this section here because the rest is a reference to some of the Russian Revolution stuff. But this is a good point here if you want to read it.
Yeah, demoralized people are not good for anything. People who are with bad programming are worse than useless in a crisis. The problem today is that right-wingers have not come up with the right arguments. Problem today is not that right-wingers have not come up with the right arguments or that they have done something decisive and fantastical or whatever, but rather that normal life doesn't really exist anymore. And that's the hyper-reality that we live in. Yeah. There is no baseline of normalcy to operate from. It is distorting everyone's worldview and behavior. People do not have the mental model they need to make good decisions. One senior Russian official in the years before the Russian Revolution remarked that the peasantry was so prone to depraved and desperate violence, the intelligentsia was so divorced from reality, and the upper classes were aloof and apathetic that the roles were really that of a zookeeper. If you're an American who understands the problem facing this country and wants to solve them, I encourage you to see yourself in that role as a zookeeper. You have to stop the fighting in a way that doesn't kill everybody. With that in mind, right-wing victory in America...
Got to be a zookeeper. Yeah. God. Easy with the racism, Mystery Grove.
Yeah. Right-wing victory in American society. Well, also, I wouldn't even just say it's a race thing, but there's a lot of schizos in America that are prone to like...
There's a lot of drugged out homeless people in America. Yeah. I mean, like, hell, I mean, not to... And I don't want to bash a particular group of people, but I mean, like, take a look at a lot of white women over the age of 30.
Oh, yeah.
How many of them are like half the country is on SSRIs or some kind of prescription drug?
Some of them go crazy in public. Yeah.
People do go nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Victory in America will come in the form of a decisive, desperate struggle. You're not going to accomplish anything by just rattling someone's cage. It's not going to be the Turner Diaries or whatever violent fantasy people are drawn to these days. Rather, it's going to be more like Shakespeare's play, The Taming of the Shrew. You have all these crazy people who have been rendered dysfunctional and even deranged for any number of reasons. And you must seduce them into being normal and happy again so that positive change can actually occur. And that's exactly true. There's a lot of people... I remember... I'm not going to say his name because people hate him now. But I remember my former editor at Thermidor, he had this tweet once. He said that America's becoming like an open air insane asylum. And I think like all of the West is sort of becoming an open air insane asylum. And I think that if you have a way to have sort of a Lee Kuan Yew technocracy that focuses on practical issues, that makes people sane again, that gets people meaningful work, that acts as if they are like a Caesar or Lee Kuan Yew like figure, I think that would probably be the most meaningful victory of based world than any sort of like fantasy of like a total, well, you know, whatever right wingers fantasize about. I think that, yeah, practical. I know I'm going to sound really bad by saying this because people, you know, it's like that fucking retard in The Guardian that goes after Charles Haywood, where he's like, Charles Haywood wants to be a warlord. Like, but I do think that a form of like practical Lee Kuan Yew style technocratic authoritarianism, that's like, there's so many damaged people.
It'd be better than what we have now.
Yeah, yeah. No, but like,
I'm not asking for much,
now, right?
Well, I'm asking for a lot.
Authoritarian democracy, right?
I'm willing to negotiate.
Yeah. No, what were we going to say? No, but because my point was that like, there's so many damaged people in North America that need help. That are, you know what I mean? Like, you almost need to intervene in their lives. That's techno-optimism take, isn't it?
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah, but what were we going to say, Prude, about?
No, I mean, like, it is a tall ask, right, for what this is, right? And I mean, this kind of goes back to why I think a lot of people are dancing around the question, like, well, how do you accomplish this? And this is the, take care, Mr. Caracol. Sorry, I just saw it in chat. I mean, like, this is the thing in America, at least, right? This is that, like, this is why all the discussion about regime change has to be peaceful, or like the democratic stuff, like we saw in Egypt or whatever, because again, this, no one wants it to be violent. It has the capacity for violence, but no one wants it to be violent, and that's fair, right? It's just that this is the big question, and this is something that I noticed when reading Deneen's talks or his book about regime change, or reading Yarvin's stuff, is that, you know what no one talks about at all in those texts about any of this? The military. Whoever's in charge can nationalize the guard, or are the Joint Chiefs of Staff going to work against you in order to ensure that you can do what you want? Like Mark Milley, right? You know, and again, regime change always has the implication that people die. And I mean, that's probably the reality of it, is that people are going to get hurt. The question becomes is how can you do it with the least amount of blood being drawn?
Yeah.
And that's a political reality people don't want to talk about, because A, that gets you put on the list, and B, I don't think people have the stomach, at least in America, to really do those things outside of a few crazy extremists.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, but that's what that's another thing too, is that I remember, oh man, do you remember there used to be back in the day, I think you went Alex Jones, but there was like these like libertarian like finance grifters, like they're like gold bugs.
Yeah.
What was his name? Bloom something. Bloomfield or Bloomsbury. I remember he had this video once. I remember listening to it on the radio, where it was about how he had a friend who was in Egypt during the Color Revolution in Egypt when they deposed Mubarak. And he's like, his friend cooked a piece of lamb, and then people were like protesting in the streets, but then they like huddled over the gate and they like started ripping each other apart over this piece of lamb. And he's like, that's what happens when you have a society that's starving and like, you know, going down the tubes, and that's why you have to buy gold, that's why you have to buy guns. And I remember I always thought
so basically the NRX zombie apocalypse thing that Land talks about.
Yeah, exactly. The NRX zombie apocalypse. Exactly. So if you have like a lot of people that are very desperate, that are fighting for resources, that's obviously the worst case scenario. But we do have examples from these various color revolutions, like in Egypt, like in Libya, like in places in Eastern Europe. It's not that far-fetched, you know, that's unfortunate. But then again, I do think that there is a sort of basic civility that certain people have, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have either had that civility destroyed or have never had that to begin with. So when you have a very like Sarajevo circa 1994 situation, I mean, things get very scary very quickly.
But this is the part here where I just keep asking myself these questions, because like I don't think to some extent, yes, maybe I do have, and I do, because let's be honest, everyone has blinders on, ideologically speaking, right? But I mean, and he says this, in my opinion, conservatives should make every effort to visibly improve quality of life and calm people down.
Yeah.
This goes back to the JIQ White Obama thing I was talking about earlier. I call this radical deceleration. There is no crisis. Nothing crazy is happening. You can breathe easily and actually think about what's going on. There's no need to just blindly react. Unclench your jaw and take a deep breath. As the enormous, almost miraculous success of anti-immigration parties in Germanic and Scandinavian countries in just the last few years have shown, all it takes to solve seemingly unsolvable civilization problems is for people to just wake up en masse. It's important to remember that they weren't convinced into adopting crazy positions, like allowing unlimited numbers of Africans and Middle Easterners into the countries in the first place. They did this reflexively with a lot of help of the government, the mass media, and NGOs. They were operating under a totally fried mental model, which has been drilled into them for decades by television and the education system. The model changed, at first gradually, and then later like a dam breaking. The problems and the solutions were always obvious to those who knew how to see.
Well, look at Canada. Did anyone ask?
No.
No, but the state endorsed multiculturalism was that groundwork. Yeah, that it's our greatest strength, and people didn't ask for like 30% of Canada become basically like India, but it happened. And it's happening, and it's like, yeah, that's 100% true. Like, nobody in Europe asked for the migrant crisis, if you recall, back in like 2011 or wherever when it started.
2013, really.
Yeah, 2013. Nobody asked. So, but he's saying that it's not that you have to ask, because if you have that prior ideological groundwork in place, yeah, exactly, it's not happening, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, if there was any hope, it lies in the pearls, said Winston Smith as he was tortured to death by Big Brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, because they were conditioned, and then when it got pretty scary, that ideological conditioning prevented them from doing it, to where you have stories that I know would always get blasted in places like Breitbart, but nevertheless, of like Scandinavian, usually like middle-aged boomer liberal women who were SA'd by migrants, and they don't report it because they would get deported, and there's a lot of stories like that. So,
but Tree Surgeon says this assumes things will hold together long enough for the normies to get the true picture, which I think is optimistic. I don't think you need most people to be on board with it. I mean, like the AFD is not a large portion of the German people, nor like the Swedish Social Democrats, but parliamentary systems are different than here in America. I will agree with that, but I mean, you don't need that many people to really change things.
No,
that's an important thing to consider. However, I just cock my eyebrow, because it's like the argument here for waking up is basically saying, hey, things need to get worse, which maybe that's true. And I mean, like, things will get worse before they get better. And we've said that before, but it's just.
But I think a point that Mystery Grove is getting at is that you have to wrestle a picture of normalcy away from the left.
Yes, no, that I do agree with.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're the sensible people. We're the
sensible centrists.
Well, yes, but also like, I like a functioning, civilization, right? Like, I unfortunately, normalcy to the media, the press, everyone who isn't keyed in here is gay race communism. That's somehow normal. Like the good doctor, getting made fun of on the TV show for like not identifying a trans person or whatever. That's normal. That's normal, despite the fact that they're being conditioned. I like when cops don't expect bribes to let me go into places. Yeah, I like normal. I like.
You want to live in Brazil?
Yeah, I like the.
Oh man,
I'm a functional society enjoyer. Yeah.
You want to live in Brazil? You don't want to.
I don't want to live in Brazil.
Bribe a cop every second mile. Come on.
I don't want to. Unfortunately, also like the homogeneity question is also a big part of this.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like these two paragraphs, I think, are pretty true. Although this was a common talking point among leftists in those countries, due to those countries' robust welfare systems, I think their success is more due to their extreme homogeneity, deference to authority, and literally a conservative worldview. They don't like change very much and value conformity. Although these traits can be bad in many ways, it allowed them to eventually be manipulated into pursuing suicidal policies like mass immigration. Again, leftism is suicidal ideation on a civilizational scale. These things move slower, and as a result, people have to have more time to breathe and respond to changes in a healthy way. They can pull out of a tailspin. In America, everything moves at light speed. This can be a good thing because a wealthy nation with a strong meritocratic bent offers ambitious and well-meaning people the ability to make positive changes quickly. However, this phenomenon has taken a sinister tone in recent years. Things can get worse much faster too. Everyone is stressed out. You can see it in their faces. People look rough. Obesity has been kicked into overdrive. Drug use, both prescription and otherwise, is at an all-time high. Tattoos and piercings are everywhere now. The country is becoming schizophrenic. Its politics are reflecting that. Politicians on both the left and the right increasingly have lives as insane as their constituents. Serious social dysfunction affects all regions, demographics, and classes. Although I suspect this is because America has decisively turned away from the unique and dynamic WASP culture and value system that has shaped the country for hundreds of years, whatever the cause, this is not an environment conducive to positive change. Yeah.
No, it's true. No, but I think that no, the accelerated character of everything is really
that's just true.
Yeah, it's made everything more existential, it's made everything more dire, it's made everything more everything is a panic attack now. Everything's bipolar. But then it's either extreme lows or extreme highs. Like you mentioned about the what's her name? Hannah Barron, the Black Rifle Coffee. Like people were like really upset about like the Southern girl and like the sex selectives between her and
the noodling chick, yeah.
Yeah. But then now that you find out, oh, it's a marketing ploy. Oh, it's like then you know it's a more immediate form of culture industry propaganda, right? But it's still there. But it's just that you can disguise it because it's very online based. But in terms of like any issue, like everything becomes very personalized, very existential, very much. I mean, I've talked about this before. It becomes a sort of, how did I describe it? Everyone is ideologically racing to the future or that model of the future. Every group wants to race to like, what is the new human going to be, right? I talk about this in the paywalled version of Content Minded, patreon.com/China Productions, where I talk about Nick Land and conscious evolution, because I was using this clip from Waking Life and I was reading this essay by Nick Land, Machinic Desire. And like, everyone's racing towards that future, whatever ideological flavor you have. But by definition, that has to be an expulsion of your political and ideological enemy. That your ideological enemy cannot exist in that future time, because things in the absence, in the era of the death of God or whatever you want to call it, become as such, become accelerated, become existential, become a matter of survival, or at least ideological survival. And it becomes the wires are tightened in everyone's psyche for a number of different reasons. And it's very scary. And so a lot of people feel as if they have a very short amount of time before things are all over. And a lot of us feel that way, I mean, so I think that there's a lot of reasons why things feel the way they do. And it's also the disconnection, like you were saying, about physical space and the internet, because your mind thinks you are doing something, but there is this disconnect between what you're physically doing, what you're mentally doing, which is sort of like,
I mean, what is the phrase, like nothing ever happens? What is that other than a psychological form of auto amputation to cut off the overstimulation?
Right.
That's all that it is. That's all that it is. And people know that. I mean, they'll say it to do it for like the take or the bit, but they do it also to cut themselves off from being like, oh fuck, another thing I have to keep track of. I do that. I know I do that because I won't follow things, or I don't ignore this stuff, or I don't follow it because there's only so much I can do, and I make a conscious effort. I mean, there are like 5 people I still watch regularly. I mean, there's some people I'll catch in on and tune in on if they're live, but I mean, like, I listen to your stuff, I listen to Oren, I listen to Morgoth, I listen to Dave the Distributist, and I will read a few Substacks on here. And I prefer reading more than I do listening because that's more time intensive. I have to read it, I have to comprehend it. I can't just listen to it. So I'm not tuned into the timeline or what the discourse is now often, because I've made the conscious decision to auto amputate that from myself, and to just also not to outsource other people's takes to be my own, because I'd rather read it or come up with something
Yeah.
So I think it's important that way, because if for every like million, speed stuff right there, I myself know that I don't, I don't do it. For every DLC or a video game that comes out, there are now 10 video essays about that you can watch on YouTube right now. I mean, that's also true, right? That's also true.
Yeah.
And that's the way that you have to go about it, is to realize that all of a sudden the world that you're in is moving so fast that you yourself have to take stock about what's important to you. Some people, and I think this is the point I was talking about with Andrew a couple weeks ago, was just like, there's some people that make the claim that like this is an evolutionary event, or others that are
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
which I think it is. I mean, it's
Nick
all,
Land would say as well. Yeah, Papa
yeah,
Land would
and I
say.
mean, well, Nick Land would also conclude by saying nothing human survives the near future. And that may just well be the case here, because I mean, are you really human at a certain point if your mental model says that we have 5 years until the world ends, we can't have kids, we must cut off the dicks of all the like children, and cops are getting killed like at the rates of tens of thousands per year, like,
or cops are killing people at the rate of,
and you're also on psychotropic drugs, prescription or otherwise. Like it's important to consider. Like, people are fucking insane.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a very like small mental bandwidth to operate from. Or else even Mr. Grove says up there about like the importance of easing stress in your life.
Yeah.
Our Civil War, the big obstacle resistance to the Bolsheviks was the Russian people have become so thoroughly disorganized and lifeless as a result of the last 3 years that they're unable to even think for themselves, for less govern themselves. Yeah, exactly. And now you add, if they go to economic war with China, add like an economic downturn onto that, worse than 2008. That's, things aren't going to be very good. It's like, yeah. So I think like, the mental model of a lot of people is sort of a low grade form of tension and anxiety and insanity. And that really is a biopolitical type of concern, right? It's I mentioned Nick Lambo, who was, it's what Byung-Chul Han says, the burnout society.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like that, we live in the burnout society. It's like it becomes a way of a low grade burn of expectations meets a model of excellence, meets a psychopolitical machinery that's always humming in the background of most people's formation of how they think about things. And yeah, the burnout society definitely is real. It's like someone replied to that Ben Shapiro. Oh no, it wasn't Ben Shapiro. It was who's that other one? Daily Wire.
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh, yeah. Someone replied where Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro that was saying about like how people shouldn't retire?
Oh, well, both of them. Like, everyone has been on the Social Security kick as of late.
Yeah, and so someone quoted the Burnout Society where Byung-Chul Han talks about allo exploitation versus inner exploitation. In other words, like exploitation from the outside, which is very much like your classic model of Foucauldian disciplinary power. Whereas like allo exploitation is like exploitation from inside, where you become this like excellent performance being that you have to maximize your own self. And that will lead to like massive amounts of like burnout or false expectations, or even like for example, all those videos from Cold Healing. Like, I know the Marnites hate him right now, but like, it's very funny how there's that one video I saw the other day from Cold Healing where it's like some TikTok about a woman who's like, I'm entering my 30s, and they always have the same TikTok voice, by the way. Same TikTok voice. Where it's like, I'm in my 30s and I haven't settled down yet. Here's what I do. I go to the beach after work and I go this, and I fuck a bunch of these guys. And like, and people look at that, like a lot of trad types are like, okay, yeah, that's a meaningless life or whatever. But there's a lot of people, and this
That's
is
the closest thing they get to meaning.
Yeah. But this is the point that Byung-Chul Han also makes elsewhere, and I think he also makes in the Burnout Society, is that, and he gets this from Baudrillard, he's getting this from Baudrillard, is that even in the act of leisure, there is still that need to perform and that need to reach a form of self-exploitative excellence. So I have to be the best TikTok influencer that, like, from my corporate, bullshit job, I'm going to the beach, I'm having mimosas, I'm living my best life. Like, even that becomes a form of self-exploitation because you're performing and you're crafting this, like, in the
you're
absence
a
of normative.
prostitute, but you're your own pimp. You know.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Because in the
We're
absence
all
of like a
harlots.
family life, then you're exploiting
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
I mean, like that's the point. Is that everyone becomes a performative harlot. You know.
Yeah. Nope.
Everyone is waiting for, and it's not everyone. That's a
Yeah.
generalization, but I mean, like these people in particular, right? Like they have to show off what they're doing. I mean, this is also the same thing that MG says down here. Like you have to fake it.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, like you have to tell yourself that what you're doing is good, or that you have to feel good, because for most people who aren't, and I mean, America itself is so damn, the moral therapeutic deism is no substitute for God, and everyone knows
Yeah.
this. And even if you don't believe in God, like you need to have something, but I would encourage you to believe in him, is in part because everything that you're doing is trying to tell you, oh, well, this is what it's for me. I need to be feeling good. I need to be doing X, Y, Z. And you're hoping, and in the back of your head, that you can have some sort of feeling of good feelings of God and whatever. But at the end of the day, you're also trying to fake your own brain into saying this isn't pretend.
Optimism is contagious. I think generally people want to rise to the occasion. Well, it's sort of like I would say though that even people in like upper class bourgeois family life, or even people that do the homesteading, like some of them, they still have this like need to perform and create TikToks and like, I was again talking about this with Matthew. Do you know that like TikTok influencer, that Asian Mormon woman who were making homemade Oreos or whatever, homemade cereal? And like, then you had that video of that Marxoid that used the video call about leisure power, leisure capital, how like making this like Marxoid analysis of leisure. I forget what writer he was citing. I forget the exact Marxist, but me and Matthew were saying like the point isn't that like Marxist nonsense. The real point that makes that video so lurid is that even like wholesome trad woman cooking for her family becomes like prawn. You know what I mean? It's like that's the prawn of it. Like the influencer cooking video, it's basically pornographied, in other words. And so like that's the more meaningful critique, to say that it's a LARP and it's for a particular form of the gays, and it's for like this allo exploitation of like my family life is so perfect and all that. That's better than some like weird Marxist class analysis of like, well, this woman has maids and she doesn't have to cook because she's got nothing to do all day, and that's an intersection of class and gender. And it's like, fuck off. Like, you know what I mean?
But again, that's the mental model, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what else is there really to add to that other than to simply say like, well, it makes money. I mean, that's all that we do now. I mean, things have gotten so bad that is the argument. Like, oh, well, I can just do this. I can just do that. I mean, for fuck's sake, there was a commercial not too long ago with fucking Sarah Silverman, right? Where she was like, well, with this banking app, I can find a way to do whatever to sell my feet pics or whatever,
that one, yeah.
And that's just sort of the case.
After I got canceled.
Yeah, right.
Sarah Silverman getting canceled, I'm pretty sure that's never going to happen.
I mean, but that's the state of affairs that we're in.
Yeah.
It's rough. But yes, that is the leisure class pointing the figure to the simulacrum of the 1950s, because people wanted a semblance of like wealth and security, and the idea that I didn't have to struggle in order to afford rent or something. And I mean, most people can afford rent. Most people are doing fine. It's the people who take the worst decisions possible with their lifestyles that do that you'll see e-begging or whatever. But like at the same time, right? Those people also are part of the greater sort of Weltanschauung of this of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of like do a little bit of e-begging, but
Well, I mean, I have a job. I do fine. Your money goes into things like microphones or some of the or the StreamYard subscription I pay for, but also you guys make my out-of-pocket medical costs cheaper, so I'm not paying money out of pocket after insurance, which I appreciate. Your contribution is greatly benefited.
This is the only thing I do. Patreon.com/Productions.
But this is Gio's full-time job, so you have to
so you better pay up.
Be kind to Gio as well on the days that he hosts the show. Be kind to him. But speaking of which, shall we get to the
Is it the end? Should we go to the end of the
No,
article?
there's quite. Well, let me get to the end. There's a lot in this article. It's a long one. I didn't think we were going to
Yeah,
get
it's a
through
good
it.
art. Oh, there you go. It's not that long, but I recently watched a unearthed footage of Air Leader Peter Kemp speaking about his World War II experiences with British forces. I was struck by just how lively he was, how full of vivid memories, and could speak intelligently about his experiences, even at the end of his life. Kemp was the product of a society that doesn't exist anymore. He was built to last. His talents and instincts were cultivated for a long time, and he punched well above his weight for his entire life. That's the effect the American right needs to recreate. And if going to make it through next year, much will be long struggle we're looking at ahead. And Mystery Grove, I believe, sells the Peter Kemp books.
I think they're all going now to Passage Press.
Okay, yeah. Buy book. You didn't buy book.
You didn't buy book. And now he's not on Twitter anymore, except when he comes on to eBeg and shill.
Yeah.
Look what you've done.
No, I'm just concerned about the direction.
Peter Kemp died.
Yeah. Peter Kemp died?
He was a World War II vet.
Oh,
Peter Kemp's been dead for years.
Oh my God.
He died in 93.
In 93?
Yeah, he died. He was born in 1913.
Wow. I was like not even a year old when he died. This was by book, yeah. This was written over the course of a few weeks. I was still not sure what prompted it. I'm just concerned about the direction of the quack right. And this is what we were talking about in the beginning of the show, remember? Which has been responsible for so much good in recent years, is taking. All the recent progress has been made can be lost over the course of a few very bad months. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Scared by ruthless organized minority. A large disorganized mob can easily be scattered by ruthless disorganized minority. Conservatives need to be building a movement to last. That's going to take a long time to focus. And and this is why you have to resist a lot of the grifter right. Because a lot of people online don't necessarily have your best interests in mind. Me and Prude have your best interests in mind, by the way. Not a lot of other people. But the Old Glory Club has your best interests in mind. But I'm just saying that, like, apart from me, Prude, and our friends, and the digital archipelago sphere, you know, all
I like how we have a sphere now. I like how we have a planet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, maybe a plucky Urbit user can give us a planet. But apart from people like that, apart from our friends and us, to a lot of people that really don't have a lot of your best interests in mind. And I think that's what I mean by when you have to be very skeptical of the talking points that people are pushing. There is a lot of very schizo and, like, quote unquote quack right that is very intellectually interesting. And I've certainly come from some of those avenues, but there's a lot of stuff that probably is just noise. And you have to focus on, like, why people are focusing on noise rather than a lot of very important issues, And so I think that, I'm more of a theory cell, of course, and I think that a lot of people would say what I'm doing is frivolous. Maybe it is. But, at the end of the day, I think that you have to sort of determine what is not psychic pollution and what is meaningful. And that is very hard because psychic pollution is everywhere. It is literally everywhere. It's Hannah Barrett and her fucking catfish. It's Sydney Sweeney versus Zendaya. It's and notice how it always rates around dating discourse and whether women are hot or not. Notice how that's always a very big coal mine.
Well, I said this a while ago. I think it's like almost a year-old take. Like, why do people always go back to, like, the self-help or the culture stuff or the dating discourse? One, because it gets clicks, right? Like, we know that. But secondly, also, people still want to date and get laid and want to talk about their it
reaches deep into the human psyche.
Well, yeah, absolutely. People want.
We should be men and women, yeah.
Well, people want to be held, Gio.
I know
that sounds dumb to say out loud, but it's just like a lot of this it hits like the id, right? It just tells you to, and unfortunately, it's easily exploitable. People exploit the ever-loving shit out of it.
No,
and someone had tweeted out, it was like a screenshot of a tweet or something. It was like, I saw someone, I saw like this like white guy with like an Indian woman, and she was wearing like the blue trad wife dress. Twitter is real life, and it's just like, yep, some people will cope, some people will do whatever they want to do it, but it does illustrate that this stuff does go right down to the center of it all, and it's easily exploitable. And it's not just on the internet; it's also in real life. Everyone wants to grift. Everyone wants to do what they want, and unfortunately, because of how fucking warped everything has become culturally speaking, the most perverted form of simulacra that could ever exist will be sold to you as discourse and as slop on X.com, on Twitter.com, on YouTube, everywhere else.
Oh, even on Facebook.
Yeah, even on Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not a normie social media. Like I don't have any.
Yeah, I don't even browse.
And
Facebook.
so
again,
people
have reported this to me of Facebook.
These online subcultures. I mean, this is something that Andrew McLuhan said, not in the interview, but he had a tweet about it. It was just like people have sold their identities for content, or worse, how I would understand it is that people have sold their identity to an algorithm or corporation or whatever subculture, and then have a facsimile of it sold back to them as an identity, and that's it. That's it.
No, but another thing too, a last point would be that living in this dreamland of different ideas and people trying to disguise their grifting through it. Like it's what was I gonna say? There's what was I gonna say about McLuhan or oh, I forget my point now. But no, but yeah, it was oh man, I forgot my point. I can't believe it. I was gonna final talking point. Zendaya, what was I gonna talk about?
Please, not that.
No, not Zendaya. No. Not the dating discourse thing. It's the family trad grifting, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say like I should write an article one day or a thread about. I think I wrote like a long post once on Twitter about it. The impossibility of a leftist natalism, right? Because like if you were like you could make like the Soviets did, which is that you could say leftists should be having children because then it's like fascists have a lot of children, and it's like don't you want to
the whole it's like the lifting thing, a fascist lifted today. Did you
lift today?
Yeah.
The Soviets had that model. The Soviets had the new socialist man would be a man with a new socialist person would have sort of like a collective communal family thing going on because the fascists have children, the fascists fetishize natalism, but that doesn't work because the leftoid, they have a system in which children can be converted through mass social
yes, yeah, and this is
mitosis, right?
Yeah.
But also when you have like a leftist influencer that could come out and say maybe you should be having children because the fascists have children, they're going to be like, oh, what about climate change? Another leftist will come and say, what about climate change? What about trans rights? Trans people can't have children. What about this? What about that? So whereas in the right, we have a problem with like these conservative grifters or whatever that like to preach about, how having a family is the magic bullet to solving all political problems. That's like of a degree less than the pop antinatalism that goes into leftist discourse, like the whole fetishizing the Korean femme cells, rad femmes, or then they would say, well, we can't have kids because what about climate change? What about trans rights? What about this? They will joy remote. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, this is something that
go ahead.
Our friend from the OGC, not me, not you, had said at one time. He had said, we value children as sacred, but so do our enemies, but for totally different purposes. And we know why.
Right.
You make them, we take them, and they know this. Yeah. They're parasites. And I don't mean that I mean that in the most literal sense. They are, right? They want your children. They want to take them. I mean, does that sound radical? Does that sound crazy? Sorry, MG. Yeah, it does sound crazy. I'm sure that it does to some people, but also the plain fact of the reality is they do it all the time. I mean, look at what happened in Montana recently. Look at everything that's happened in Canada. I mean, we had fucking I Am Jazz on the air for like, what, 10 years?
Yeah.
This stuff's not going away.
Well, that's what I mean. They don't necessarily need to have children because they have a form of
they know how to take
mitosis, social osmosis that can yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Like it's there's almost an impossibility of leftist natalism.
Yeah.
And the celebration of having children. It's never their ideology negates against that or necessitates against that for a variety. Like the modern left, not like maybe the old Marxists, but like certainly the modern progressive left, liberal left. there's a weird nihilistic misanthropy there, which I feel does not go commented upon. I mean, maybe people comment on it, but it seems that like when you actually examine it, their ideology is almost designed to not have children, especially the YIMBY people with their mass sprawling, all of a sudden urbanism, where it's like all or nothing. You have to live in a pod.
Yeah.
Like that's not conducive to family life, you know? Like,
no.
Yeah. So, well, you know.
But with that, let us be the opposite of fundamentally unhappy people, and let us be happy, and let us celebrate the 82nd show that we've done. We're getting closer to episode 100. That's crazy. That's Good amazing, evening, Monochrome Hysteria. I hope that you're well. And with that, let's go on and head to the super chats. So with that, support. All the links are down below in the description. Gio's been busy with a new episode of Content Minded. I had an AMA stream earlier. I will hopefully have a new Substack out by this weekend, at least for Saturday. And yes, today is St. Benedict's Day. So
is it going to be St. Patrick's Day soon?
And St. Patrick's Day is this Sunday, yes.
Oh, there you go.
And for me, Lent officially starts in the Orthodox Church this Sunday. But yeah, that's a big difference in time this year.
Who's guest for episode 100?
That's a great
shot. No, I'm kidding.
No, you're screwed, my friend, because episode 100 is an even episode. I get episode 100.
Oh, okay, yeah, wow.
You're in for a good time there. But we'll figure that out. We have what?
Even closer. We can't say that introspection. We can't make a big deal about that one.
We have 18 episodes until then. No introspection. We won't make a big deal out of that one. The equivalent episode with that would be
Thomas 7 for episode 8.
I'm actually going to be inviting him on for a Stalin's War episode reading. So
you're pulling the plug with that,
I sure am. I'm making it happen.
He would probably be the best guy to do it though for Stalin's War when you really think about it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's an episode out early for patrons right now with our friend Furious Pertinax, so you can have that. But
second best guy to do it.
It was a very good episode. We talked about the lead up to Operation Barbarossa.
I'm forgetting Sandbatch. Sandbatch could probably, he's good at that stuff too.
Oh, well, he's been.
I have Sandbatch on one of these days.
He's been FDR posting, so it would be interesting to see how well that goes.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, let's go ahead on to the super chat. So I'm going to start with the ones on Entropy. Your donations via Entropy are always better with that respect. So we're going to get started there. So I'm going to start there. John Carter sends $25 American. Thank you very much.
$25.
That's very generous of you. He said, "Sorry for strolling you. There was nothing wrong with your Entropy." Well, I know sometimes I'll log into Entropy and stream, and then it'll kick me out, so I have to restart it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
you caught Prud at a bad moment. Put it that way.
I appreciate. I'm so pissed off about my mic breaking. I've had this mic since I started.
Yeah, you've had a Blue Yeti forever.
I've had this snowball mic since I started. My first video I ever recorded was on this damn microphone. But I'll try and fix the drivers and reinstall my computer or reinstall stuff after I'm done. I was very upset, and I apologize for being angry. Yeah. I'm not normally like that, but the
Steve McChuck, $25.
That's the best part of the show. Belial Bradley for $10 US says small donation for Gio's Brio Chinotto Fund.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. I love Chinotto and Brio. Yeah, that's childhood memories right there. Yeah.
Interesting.
$10. Have you ever had a Brio, Prude?
That specific thing?
Yeah, Chinotto, it's like a bitter, it's an Italian bitter soda drink. It's like, imagine if Coke was bitter.
No, like a lemon and Coke thing?
They have a lemon version of Chinotto. It's more of like a herbal. It's like a herbal.
Okay, let me see if I can buy it.
Type in Brio.
Yeah, where would I be able to get that? I'm not sharing my screen for obvious reasons, but
he's got his credit card information right there. No,
yeah, right.
His social security number.
Right. Let's see here. I would have to drive quite some distance to go find it, but you know what? Screw it. I can make that happen.
Oh man.
So the next time I'm in the city, I will go find a place to buy it. How about that?
Yeah, there's some Italians in the South. There's a lot of times I went to Virginia. I think someone went to Texas, but
Brio is very good, says Jason.
but very weird at the same time. Yes,
I'm
yes.
willing to give it a shot though.
Yeah.
So there you go.
S social security number.
How did you know my social security number, you fucker?
Can you imagine if someone actually does have that social security number?
Imagine. Well, they're probably dead, so they're voting Democrat. You know, Italians in my city, I know, so over.
Louisiana and Virginia has a lot of Italians.
Yeah,
but not a lot of Italians in the South. No, that's true.
Belial Bradley. Oh, we already did that one. Sam153 also sends $10. Says
$10.
Spring Sneed. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, he always says that Sneed. Yeah.
We have a. Unfortunately, we've taken that from Lev, and it's never stopped.
Well, hey, I took from PvP the bunny thing, so
there you go. It all works out.
Yeah, sure Master Race. Yeah, I have the I didn't spring for the $500 one, but I have the $300 one.
Well, I will need to go buy one of those. Let's see here. Seneca for $3 says, for the new Prude mic fund. Yes, I will be ordering a microphone after we get off the air. He sends another one for $3 saying, update on my search for Missouri lore. I watched a documentary on the Missouri State Penitentiary. It was called The Most Bloody 41 Acres in the Country.
Oh, yeah.
By the time in 1964, 30 plus years before it was decommissioned. By Time Magazine in 1964. Okay. 30 plus years before it was decommissioned. Well, I wonder if you can find that online. That would be really interesting.
I believe the Missouri State Prison was actually brought up for crimes against humanity, if I recall. It was one of the few prisons in America that was condemned by the UN or something like that. A lot of prisons in the South were pretty brutal back in the day. That was like in New Mexico, the New Mexico prison riot in the 80s, where they were like blowtorching people. Actually, Cannibal Corpse made a song about that. It's called Blowtorch Slaughter.
Well, I'll have to look at that later. Yeah. That sounds. I'm down to go look that up and learn more about it. But cool, thank you for sharing. Anonymous for $10 US says, I deleted Twitter because the discourse between people far better learned than me were shitting up the timeline with stuff about Sydney Sweeney, etc. What is an appropriate way for us to police triviality and encourage more meaningful conversation?
You have to mog people that post coal. You have to really make it socially unacceptable and the right to just shit up the TL with your. I don't know. I think that you have to replicate what the frogs were doing back in 2014, 2015 when we all went on Twitter. You have to really replicate that model of intellectualism that I think you know what I mean? You have to really get people addicted to being hungry for new ideas, to explore new territories, and you have to sort of ignore outright and sort of cut off at the root a lot of I would say psychosexual obsessions that people have. But in terms of that being practical, I don't know. It's a long slog. But what do you think, Prue?
You have to take into account some form of ascesis. I know it sounds mean or it sounds like I'm being a jerk, but there are people who I am mutuals with that I will mute for a period of time if the discourse is about this stuff. Because I don't have time.
Those names are going off in my head, by the way.
Yeah, same, right? Yeah. But I purposefully make it an effort to not pay attention. Two, I take advantage of the Twitter's ability to mute words feature. So unless you post a screenshot of somebody, I have never seen a tweet by Richard Anania or Ayala or any of these people. And the next time I see something that's out there that is this, look at this clearly AstroTurf Black Rifle Coffee Company thing, it gets muted instantly. I just don't have time for it. I uninstall the app on the weekends. And I post from my desktop only, and I have some scheduled tweets the good night and good morning posts on the weekend. Outside of that, I'm not on Twitter on the weekend. I cannot, which kills my engagement, but I don't care too much. I just don't have the time. You have to prioritize your bandwidth. Mm-hmm. As for people like us, I choose to not engage with it, and perhaps that's. I have 25,000 followers on Twitter. It's not a big number.
You've got 1,000 people listening to us on Twitter.
Thank you, Twitter. We appreciate that. But at the same time, it's nice when, you have to just, I don't know. For me, maybe you could say I should police it more. I don't care because I don't like to get involved in drama and fights. I just don't fuck with it. That's my basic answer. I just don't mess with it.
Yeah, I try to ignore drama, especially when it involves friends. Um, yeah, I've really cut out the simping stuff. I've really cut out like a lot of that type of like low bait engagement. But yeah, other than that, like I've yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff you gotta really cut out. It's also like, for example, like if I have a female mutual that posts a selfie because she's accomplished something or getting married or whatever, then that's no, I'll
That's
like it.
different.
But
Well, I
if
mean,
it's like,
it's like Kate J in chat. Like she's married and does
mhm.
whatever. Like I don't
But if it's like a woman posting like like a
bait
provocative selfie
bait.
or bait, then it's like, especially when you're, if you're in a relationship, it's not really, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really something you should be doing.
We mentioned her and she says hello in chat. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like that's an example, right, of one of the few people that I like. I don't follow women. I don't think I even follow
Well, I
Kate.
follow
But
like Addie Muncher and all that, but I'm
I
not gonna
don't.
like,
I don't. But I mean, the same thing with
you
Twitter
know.
is the same thing that you should consider from the Sermon on the Mount. If something causes you to sin, cut it out.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't bother. And that's why I got really upset at the beginning with the whole timeline thing with Twitter. Like, I really am upset. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's just like, it's very easy because like posts will be like flagged for nudity or whatever. I don't know if that's a manual thing or not, but like I know the spoiler stuff is or sensitive content, but even then, right? Like I don't have an auto show, but still, a video of some Haitian person eating another man, right? Like I don't need to see that. In the same way
Mhm.
that you shouldn't have to deal with the constant, you know, grift club, whatever. Like I don't have time for it. I have enough of a real life. I've
Mhm.
spent most of this week painting. Like I'm not here right now, and it's nice. And I'd like to keep it that way. But
Yeah,
that's my
that's what I mean.
suggestion.
Like you gotta,
Yeah.
yeah, it's you know what I mean? Like you gotta, certain
Uh,
things you have to cut out, you know what I mean? Like it's,
yeah. No, I agree with that. But hopefully that helps anonymous. You sent another $10. I'm not going to publicly read that one, but I do appreciate you sort
oh,
of
what do you say in that one?
the chastisement of my frustration at the beginning, which is totally justifiable.
Oh, it's
Um,
too hairy to read online,
no, it's
or
not Harry. It's just I appreciate what he has said.
mm.
But yes, I agree.
For $10.
Yes, you're not being a nagging Nana. You're reminding me to be act better, and I appreciate that.
Mm.
But again, anonymous says for $5, he says, "God bless Shoddy, Cobson Jimmy Est." So there you go. Someone's talking about stuff that I don't pay attention to.
Bronze Age Shoddy, she's a smart and nice woman. I don't know why people hate her
Then
so
someone
much.
should marry her.
Someone should marry her. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of far off, but you know,
I don't think it would be. I think that there's enough equally mentally. I think there are enough neurodivergent men on Twitter to make it work.
there could be. Yeah.
But well, carrying on here, Seneca for $5 says Missouri State Penitentiary was horrible. They'd constantly torture inmates in horrible ways. Beatings and floggings were common. The
Mm-hmm.
shakings were also common.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands died on the property for over 250 years. MLK's assassin was from there. He escaped before doing the deed. Well, that I did not know.
I believe they also had a prison capo system where there was rife with abuse and prison justice killings, and yeah, it was brutal. It was a labor prison too, which in the South, labor prisons were fucking brutal.
Well,
Like,
I now
yeah.
want to look up the what's the word I'm looking for? I now want to like watch that documentary for sure. That's certainly the case.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. And then Owen Zaleski for $5 American says,
$5.
hello, gents. Hope you're well. Sorry to hear about the Mike Prude. No worries. I have finished my Passage Prize short story, and I'm working on the painting and poetry portion of it as well. Feels great when you make your own antidotes to psychic pollution. Art stream win, Gio. He says in all capital letters. When are you streaming art again? When are you doing your live stream of painting?
I should go back to that, but I mean, I'd have to do it from my phone. But I mean, it was all right the last few times because, like, I mean, I used to have my computer in my studio room, but then I switched, so I think it's probably fine from phone. But what I think I'm going to do is record footage of painting, especially outdoors, and I'll have like I'll have talks over it. I want to get back to that type of content, So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have these like little cheaper like GoPro cameras, but not like real GoPro. They're like the $100 Amazon. But I think like if I save up enough, I maybe will buy a real GoPro for when I'm doing plein air painting or when I'm just painting in general. So
remember to send that man a GoPro, a manual typewriter, or money.
Yeah. If
yeah,
you
maybe
donate for a cheaper GoPro, maybe like the $300 range, maybe. You know?
See, Gio, this is why you need a PO box.
I will review any movie for $100. By the way, my PayPal entropy. I will review any movie for $100.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, now we can get on to the YouTube ones. So,
all right.
Let's see. Gmall for $10 is for the new mic fund. Thank you.
$10.
I will try and fix the drivers and see if that's the issue.
That's such a great profile picture by Gmall.
It's there.
Is that Brett Kreischer or is it some other fat guy with?
It's Brett Kreischer. Brett Kreischer's a way different face.
Oh yeah, you're right.
John Carter $4.99 says Prude's entropy is also malfunctioning. Today send donations to Gio instead. Jokes on you. I read the entropy ones first.
John Carter, I will buy. What's that book called? The Shunning. Remember, $500 to review The Shunning. That's our deal when my book is published.
Oh, the Amish erotica.
The Amish erotica by Beverly Lewis.
Yes, that's a content-minded episode. I honestly, that would be fun actually for shits and grins if we could review one of those like Daquan or Deshaun Mills books.
Yeah.
She got roaches in her crib or something. I would happily do that.
It would be like Bongo Bongo Book Club back in the day, you know.
And we could bring Nightmare Vision on. It'd be great.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know what's funny is that Bongo Bongo Book Club, you could still find the archive, but then I think what happened was one of the guys got doxxed by Antifa. I think it was Freelance Autist that got doxxed. Freelance, or otherwise known as Freelance Wood Elf. And I think that's why they had to stop it. And there was a bunch of these podcasts back in the day. Remember Girls Chat that was run by women of questionable gender?
Well, this is as the still self-described UFAC. I'm glad I don't know any of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
but Bongo Bongo Book
I'm so glad I was a GOP striver intern 10 years ago and not doing that.
You weren't
stuff.
listening to podcasts that were adjacent to TRS 10 years
ago. I wasn't listening to Fascination 10 years ago. I'm sorry. I really wasn't.
I can't believe they got jazz hands, man, after all those years, you know,
And turns out he's like a well-to-do rich guy in Florida. Damn, turns out our friends well, not our friends, but turns out people in this space are successful and well-to-do.
I never really listened. To tell you the truth, I never really listened to TRS or all that stuff. On YouTube, you'd see some clips.
Same. Yeah, I mean, I remember when people Woes and Iconoclast were still on YouTube, but not so much.
I remember that.
Not so much those guys, but
see, Bubbles, you remember Girls Chat? Some of that content was pretty good.
Yeah. Fern Gully Avatar ripped off Fern Gully and Pocahontas and all sorts of stuff. It's basically Dances with Wolves, but with blue people.
Yeah. Didn't Lucas go on Girls Chat once?
I have no idea.
Yeah, remember those days, Lucas? Oh, Space Geico. I can never find his essay he wrote about beauty, by the way.
Oh,
they totally scrubbed.
Ask and ye shall receive. So go ask Twitter. Prince of Parma for 14 South African rand. Thank you for the 87 cents, sir. He says, Happy Caesar's Eve. Yes, tomorrow is the Ides of March.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, it is true. He continues again. He says, don't worry. This is in reference to our discussion about teal dollars. You have that sweet South African backing. For 87 cents. Thank you.
Sending power to Urania.
Sending power. Joshua Beebe says, for $1.99, he says, having children will make you happy. I believe that wholeheartedly. The happiest people I know are parents. Lou Templar with a video game super chat for $5 American. They released a Super Earth math recently. Buenos Aires was highlighted as a major stronghold of democracy. Well, I'm glad that someone made it.
Kind of like Starship Troopers.
Yeah. Well, they have a map in the galaxy map or whatever that is basically Clendathu, which is kind of funny.
Isn't that from Bionicles?
No, Clendathu is literally the planet that happens on Starship Troopers, the fighting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But then Bionicle had a planet like that.
They had oh, man. Yeah. Triggering 5-year-old, 6-year-old memories about trying to understand Bionicle lore.
Man.
Zoomers are going to have a real one with that. NG Benji for $5 Canadian. He says, Richard Anania versus Josh Akel versus Anatoly Karlin. Which one is the worst?
Karlin. Who's Josh Akel?
Oh, the guy that runs Project Liberal on Twitter.
Oh God,
the guy who famously had that tweet about "I hate ugly things," and then below the iceberg
that
is Hitler.
is the Austrian painter. Yeah,
Yeah.
Matanui. That was
Yeah,
the
Matanui.
Matanui. Yeah. This is a hard one. I hate all three of them with a passion.
I pray all three of them repent of their cringe coal takes and find God. But
Anatoly Karlin's a band, Lily Pad Hopper. He's like whatever. He's like stupid. You know, he has this like human capital nonsense. That Project Liberal guy is an insufferable, like, he's an insufferable shit. And it's like, who cares? I think the reason I say this is because he's probably smarter than both of them combined. I would say Richard Hanania is the worst.
Well, Hanani is the smartest of the three. I will wholeheartedly agree with that take.
So use that take for you.
He's probably the worst then, because he can be the best utilized for evil. That's probably true. And then Joshua BB for 199 says, "I have a real life. Spent most of this week gaming." Well, there you go. Probably not the best use of your time, sir, but I definitely understand that for sure. Oh, absolutely crazy stuff. But we do a little Caesar posting. That is true. Yeah, maybe when I'm done painting, I'll post what I've been working on. I showed Gio a work in progress shot, but I've been working on an icon of King David this week.
There you go.
When I'm done, I'll probably post it. Spandrel has a good take on Banania. Spandrel restarted his blog recently.
Oh wow.
Bloody Shovel 4. So I'm very curious to see what he's
yeah, I should. What is it called? Bloody Shovel 4?
Bloody Shovel 4. So yeah, absolutely. We'll go. I know he was blogging again. I saw that he had posted something on
it's not a Mud Shovel 4.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see. But yeah, I'll have to go read some of that. I'd have to look at his take on Banania. They will never re-release old Bionicles. They never know how to make them. Oh man, have fun with that.
A post-mortem on Neo Reaction.
Yes, he did write a post-mortem on Neo Reaction. Which
I gotta read this.
I really want to read. So that might be what we cover next week.
Yeah. What did you write about Banania? What's it called?
Yeah, I don't know.
Negative XP went on Girls Chat. I believe Negative XP did go on Girls Chat back when he was known as a school shooter. He had to change that name for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. You know, how could you sell merch? How could you do anything online if your name is school shooter? Fuck, the competency crisis got my Legos. We'll get your Legos. Yeah.
The competency crisis has come for my Legos.
Oh, it's true. You think those molds are going to be totally even?
Those molds are going to hold up forever?
Yeah, in China, come on. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
What's your thoughts on the IM 1776 debate between Lafayette, Lee, Gree, and Martyr Maid? I'm actually writing something about it, Jason. So
is it in IM 1776?
Yeah, you can read they had the original debate. It's in issue 4 that it was a discussion between Lee and Martyr Maid. Greer wrote a Substack about it, which was basically like, hey, you can't ignore the racial aspect of this, and you don't really talk about it. And then they had all three of them talk about it, which was a much more interesting digression and discussion. But I am reading it because there's some stuff that was good out of that. So I will I'll have an article out on that eventually.
Legos are made in Slovakia? I thought they were made in China.
I thought the company was Danish.
Oh yeah.
Isn't Lego like sort of a play on the words like let's play or something?
Yeah. But I think like most of it's made in China, is it not?
I have no idea. That's a really good question.
That's crazy if it is made in Slovakia. Then competency crisis saved. Although, I mean, well, I don't know.
Let's take a look. Show results with Slovakia. Let's take a look here.
Mega Bloks nationalism wins.
Along with Slovakia, the country's been one of the fastest growing toy exporters since 2000. Oh, they have there's Czech Republic. Czech Republic has a Lego factory.
Interesting.
Oh, apparently there is a Slovakia one as well. So there you go. Interesting. Yeah. You learn something new every day. Yeah. Legot, which means play well. There you go. Check.
Oh, that makes sense.
I was like, I remember.
I mean, only Scandinavians could come up with a toy that you build things with. So
that's true. That is true. It's the IKEA of toys.
Yeah, it really is the IKEA of toys.
It's the IKEA furniture of toys. But I mean, I have some of that shit in a storage container, so I really can't. I'm saving that for my children.
Yeah,
you will play with
Legoland
this for
nationalism.
1,000 years. You know, it will be a good time. You shall build this for 1,000 years. But no, it's a good time. But Gio, what do you have going on? Let us do our plugs and let's get out of here.
All right, yeah. Go to my channel where I released. I think in total it's over 4 hours long. I talk about Heidegger and Nick Land, and I read a thread by RFH. Content Mining episode 60, milestone episode 60. Patreon.com/Giant Productions or Substack at Gio's Content Corner. Both have the free. The Substack is the free and the paid version. You can switch over at any time. Both starting at $5 a month. And of course, I don't really plug my Spotify, but I do upload all the public versions to Spotify as well if you want to download them. But go to my YouTube, and next week I'll probably have another solo one because I mean certain people I wanted to interview, I have to get around to it because really me and Matthew editing the book is taking up a lot of our time. So hopefully by either the summer, by next fall, the book will come out and we'll see what happens.
Let us pray it's sooner rather than later.
Sooner rather than later, exactly. But yeah.
Well, good. So I just did a little AMA stream earlier. I've got some Substack stuff in the books coming out soon. Again, there's an early episode for our lovely friends over on Substack. If you're a YouTube channel member, as well as a Subscribe Star payer, which can be as low as $2 a month, you can see all the stuff early. So this includes the Stalin War series and some book reviews that I put out that are for patrons. And so that's available. I've also got an essay about the politics of the eternal now that is also there as well. So when Gio's book comes out, by all means, pre-order it when it becomes available. I don't know if am I still doing the audio thing, Gio?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well then I will be doing the audiobook if you want to listen to my ass read his book. On top of that, I will be recording this weekend with our lovely friends over at the Sidebar Podcast. Go look up Tukey's Mag on YouTube. We will be recording and talking about Samuel Chamberlain's My Confession. So if you're interested in that, by all means, we're gonna record that. It's gonna be a great time. And then on top of that, I should have my YouTube or my Substack review of Don Bluth's Anastasia out with some of my own political musings on it as well. So on top of that, we'll see you all next week on Gio's channel. Be sure to subscribe to his YouTube, his Substack, and everything else. The links are down below in the description. This episode will be available, maybe edited, we'll see, on all podcast platforms. We've been streaming live to X/Twitter, Rumble, and YouTube as always every Thursday. And then we'll see you all next week.
God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.